Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 190. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V.
Should probably get my mic.
No, I think some would beg to differ.
There's a lot of people who would say, no, John.
No, you're good.
You're fine.
You just sit there and press a few buttons.
You sit here and switch the show. We don't need to hear you.
We are here tonight, Tuesday night. What is it? April something? April 10th, 2018. Just coming off of the Jonesboro Open, presented by Pro Discus. Of course, the third stop. I had to think about that. The third stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
It does feel like a lot more.
It does.
Just because
it's been a long year already.
We've had NTs and Pro Tour stops and just big A tiers, and you're totally right.
All sorts of things going on. Steve Dodge asked me a question earlier today. He said, do you know who's in first place in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings? And funny enough, I happen to be on the Disc Golf Pro Tour stats page. Hey, Jeremy Stewart, thank you for the super chat.
Oh, thanks.
I happened to be on the stats page like yesterday. I was looking for something else, actually, and I randomly clicked on the standings. I know it sounds silly. I'll admit I don't concern with myself with the standings for probably a few more events, at least. And
I would have thought we talked
prior
about
to this weekend, yeah. Who?
It was Sexton.
Okay.
And now, let me think. We've had the Memorial,
Waco,
and now this, and now Jonesboro.
Take a guess.
I'd have to guess Ricky now. I think it was Ricky, or I want to say Double G. But I don't remember. Double G did well at Waco, didn't he?
I don't remember. What day is it?
It's going back so many days. There's so much golf.
Well, it is, in fact, Ricky Wysocki.
Okay.
He is your current leader of the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. Interestingly enough, and now this one I had a hard time believing. Do you want to guess who's in second? That's a trick question.
Ricky's in second as well. It's a trick question, right?
Yes.
No, I honestly, I don't know.
I was shocked. I believe he said it was Paul McBeth, and now I want to look it up. I don't know why I'm trusting.
Even after McBeth just took like 57th?
Hey, shots fired.
No,
Too many, in fact, by calling you out, McBeth.
Clearly.
And for the first time, and in all jokes aside, I don't know where my $100 bet is from last year, and somebody needs to pay me. Thank gosh I didn't double down on it. Last year,
13th or 15th?
I think it was 13th. Last year,
ouch.
I said that Paul McBeth wouldn't finish outside the top 10 for any event that he finishes, and he didn't. And this year, here we are, 13th place. So it's surprising to me, maybe even more so than McBeth. I'm quite shocked by that. So I'm going to go to DGPT and just double check what we're looking at. But yes, Paul McBeth, second place, 180 points. So Ricky Wysocki has 213 points. He's in first. Paul McBeth, 180 points. He's in second. Nate Sexton with 173.33 points is in third. And Garrett Gerthy, Double G, rounds out the foursome with 162 points.
So I wasn't too far off with
Double
G, because I know Double G had finished well at Waco. I didn't remember how he did at Memorial.
Not so hot at 35th.
Okay, I remember now, that he did not shoot well. So he is,
yeah, crazy stuff. Any guesses on the women's side?
Ugh. I'm gonna go with first place. Paige Pierce is clearly in the first place. She has not lost an event, any of the major events yet that she has played.
Or any event this year. Even the not major or large scale events, so to speak. Yes.
Whereas
I believe she's won all 5 tournaments she's entered.
I think she has, and which were all big events as well. And she, now she is the only undefeated. We did have Chris Dickerson, and as far as I know, I don't know anyone else that is a multiple undefeated champion this year. I'm sure there's a lot of one-offs. We're early in the season. Somebody has got one event under their belt and won it, but I don't know of any other continuous streaks.
Well, real quick, I'll round out then on the women's side. Yes, Paige Pierce in first place, 300 points, 3 for 3 on the Pro Tour side. Sarah Hokum, 214 points, sitting in second. Lisa Fakis sitting in third, who I don't know if I literally saw Lisa's face at any point this weekend, which was sad. There's a lot of people I didn't see, but Lisa, who's usually on that top card, and I know she was out there. She finished 10th. I just physically didn't see her, but Lisa sitting in 3rd place, and Jessica Weiss with her performance, she's got a 2nd and 2 sevenths, putting her in 4th place overall. So I think we also just pretty much effectively killed Steve Dodge's Pro Tour talk for tomorrow. I think we just covered everything he'll cover, so you don't need to tune in.
He'll draw it out another hour.
All right. Speaking of drawing things out for on and on and on. Dynamite? Welcome, buddy.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, buddy.
What are you talking about drawing things
your
out?
sickness. Your sickness seems to just draw on and on and on.
Well, not just my sickness,
the whole house,
but the families, and actually mine has drawn out quite a bit from being sick and then a sinus infection. So, but he's back.
Yeah, you are.
No, I don't
How you doing, buddy?
I'm back. Let's go. I'm doing good. Doing good. Ready to chat some disc golf with you guys.
I figured
had a lot of tournaments this last weekend.
I figured you maybe were in a ditch stoned or something, as in like old school, like biblical stonings. You were getting a little bit of a beat down. We didn't have you last week. You got a little bit of a beat down by some passionate fans on the commentary you did with me from Throw It on the Mountain. Have you recovered?
Yeah, no, the beatings are still coming. For those of you that aren't familiar, if you haven't watched the Throw Down the Mountain coverage, check out the final round, back 9, I believe it is. Whatever it is, watch the final round. Paul Macbeth throws an unbelievable. If he meant to do it, if Paul meant to throw this shot, incredible, unbelievable shot. He throws this low ceiling with I think a Thunderbird or some sort of fairway driver. Gets a reverse skip up a hill, up on a dangerous green. Just awesome shot to get up and down for par. Jamie Mosier then follows it up with throwing a 170-footer in. And I boldly stated during the commentary that Paul's shot was more impressive. And sometimes you got to say bold things. You can't just status quo. Yeah, I've been getting ripped on YouTube comments, and I saw on Facebook, like people are
showing up at your house.
Nasty.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, down south, I don't know, some jackass down south says Dana's a girl's name or something. People are taking shots at me all over. I don't know what's going on, but
the nice thing about commentary, you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or you got to be, and then you got to go apologize to people like Terry.
Yeah. And
these are tough times to be does Big Germ have to deal with this?
I hear he doesn't even do commentary anymore. Oh no, he just shows up late. Is that okay? Let's move on. We're just all we're gonna do is grow this big tree full of shade underneath it, and people are gonna get all more bent and worked up. You watched, of course, the Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Let's start with some other things though. What else jumped out at you that you saw going on around the country that wasn't in Jonesboro?
Yeah, we had an A-tier in Florida, the 25th annual Sizzler, presented by Mesa Litigation and Latitude 64. This was the pro weekend, and Florida's top pro currently in the state, Calvin Heimberg, got himself a victory. I say that because Johnny McRae's on the road, and so Calvin is holding it down, and he held it down. He won by 14 throws, and he did that by going 10-31, 10-11, 10-74, 10-43. Finishing 14 throws behind him was Eric Bates, and then 15 behind Calvin was Jamie Clapp. And on the women's side, Nadine Larkin got the win over Sandy Gast, and Pam Renicky finished in 3rd place. So that was down in Florida. Then let's jump up to New York. with the FDR Fools Fest. It was a B tier split division over Saturday, Sunday. On the men's side, 40 person open division. Steve Brinster came from behind. He popped off a round 2 of 10:53 to win by 1 throw over Nicholas Spittler, and who was out of Uniondale, Pennsylvania. But Brinster went 9.99, 10:53 to get himself the victory. So not too bad there for old Mr. Brinster. Have we seen him out on? He sometimes goes out to the Memorial. Did he go out this year?
Yeah, I remember catching up with him a little bit out at the Memorial, talking to him there, but then that's about all that we've seen him at this year. And I'll admit, I don't know if he was in Vegas or not off the top of my head. I'm guessing he wasn't, but yeah,
he was not. He did go to Memorial, finished in 53rd. So disappointing finish for him there, I'm sure. But coming off, the East Coast has had a pretty rough. Pretty rough winter. A lot of snow. He's got a family. He probably wasn't playing all that much golf, so went out there in 53rd. But anyways, there's one more tournament, actually 2 more that I wanted to talk about really quickly before we dive into Jonesboro. Colorado Open out at Glenwood Springs, Colorado.
Before you go any further, can I just guess that Joe Revere won? I honestly, I didn't look. I'm just going to take a stab here.
You guessed correctly. He finished in first place by 7 throws over Andrew Herrera, and tied in third was Joshua Sappenfield and J.C. Kester. Little known fact, my first basket ace came at Glenwood Springs. My good friend Jason Blunk went to college there before failing out, and I went and visited him on spring break a few times. Had a really good time, but got my first official disc golf basket ace on that course. It's a beautiful mountain course. You could see Mount Sopris off in the distance. It's a massive, beautiful mountain, but pretty cool course. Joe Revere, dominated. Eagle wasn't in town. He might have been a different story if he was, but Eagle was in Arkansas. So congratulations to Joe. And then there was a major this last weekend. It was an XM major, the 2018 Amateur World Doubles Championships presented by Innova Champion and Hauk Design. 174 total players. They're playing at Sealam Ranch. Have you been there yet, Terry?
No. I, of course, like so many others, hear lots of good things about it, lots of people talking about. I know it's rated, or both of the courses there are rated in the top 5 or the top 10. Of course, just highly regarded and talked about. But no, I have never visited the property.
Yeah, neither have I. It looks and sounds like a great place to play. I'm just going to give the team names. Winning the Advanced Amateur World Doubles Championship, North Dallas Development Program. Amateur Masters was Dos Gringos.
Wait, I heard it's their 5-time Am Masters doubles champion.
Wow.
You dug deep in the research there.
I listened to another podcast today that mentioned it. It's like research.
Do you clock in for that?
Oh, I
podcast.
I bill Smashbox for that.
What are their ratings?
966, and someone does not have a rating.
So the 2 people that won for the 5th time in the
fairly certain that's what I had heard.
966, is that what you just said?
Yep.
I'm not gonna. I don't see my soapbox sitting around, so I'm not gonna jump on it. I've always said I'm totally good. You can play in whatever division you're qualified for. And I'll say it a million times. If you are rated 934 and you want to play intermediate every event and you somehow keep winning every event in intermediate and you're rated 934, you're more than welcome to stay there.
Which is funny because I'm looking back and maybe I was incorrect because I'm seeing a couple seconds and third places out there.
Maybe in his overall career, he's won it 5 times. Anyway, my point was, I'm getting sidetracked, but the point is, I'm good with playing where you want, but when you're, maybe I'll just leave it at that. I guess if you're eligible to play in a division, and you want to play in that division, and you're totally eligible, I'm good with it. I won't throw around the term sandbagger because as long as you're playing by the rules, I don't really care. But it's interesting to me that you would want to keep doing that. But then again, maybe your sources were wrong.
I'm sorry, maybe it was the amateur master and not the advanced master group. But either way.
Anyway,
so many divisions.
Yes, I believe it's
so many divisions.
I'm looking right now, and lots of divisions.
Interesting. All right, Dano. So a couple of champions. Who else did you see out there? Any names? And again, you are in Illinois. I'm in Wisconsin. Of course, we travel and we hear names, but I've got to assume this was a relatively regional event to Texas, or am I wrong? I didn't look at any of the results. Did it seem that way? Were there any names or people that you know of?
Some guys went down from Illinois. Trying to think who I saw went down there, but it definitely is a pretty heavily attended event from the Texas players. But I honestly, looking at the names, I just was looking at team names because there was a bunch of fun and interesting team names like Scratch and Sniff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we definitely should be giving out some kind of Smashy award for the most clever team names or favorite team names of the event. We should have done that research. Somebody put that on the show notes for next year. Well, we had other show notes that I was thinking of. Oh, the April Fools. Next year, let's vote on the best April Fools prank by the manufacturers. I think those are 2 good ones.
What's up, Smashies? This month we're taking a look at the brand new Star AVR
one more quick tournament that just got a text message that I said I should check out. Out in California, the Cachuma Classic, presented by DGA in Santa Barbara. It looked like quite the battle between Bobby Music and Paul Ulibarri. Any guesses who won? Either of you two? I don't assume you looked at results.
You didn't.
No. I'm gonna go Bobby.
I'll go.
Wow.
Your wow's not very indicative.
This is taking way too long. Bobby Music and Yuli both were just playing really good disc golf. Their final rounds, Bobby shot a 41, 1066 rated, and Yuli shot a 40, 1078 to lose by a stick to Bobby. But definitely some incredible disc golf, and really the first round was what separated them. Bobby shot a 48 and Yuli shot a 50. Then they tied the second round. But I wonder if anybody caught that final round on camera. Maybe a Central Coast crew was there, because that would be some fun golf to watch. And Lewis Bitney was on the card as well. He shot a 44 that final round, 1030. So that would be cool to catch that. Maybe Yuli can chime in, or someone from Central Coast. We know that, what's his name? What's he call himself? Johnny Frisbee Golf, or Johnny Football? He definitely wasn't filming it from Central Coast, because he was doing what?
Stealing Terry's job.
Yes. My letter of resignation has been submitted. Been good knowing all you MRFers. I'm out of here.
No, Johnny Football was doing commentary for the Smashbox broadcast and the Pro Tour broadcast, I should probably say. Corey Merle and Sean Jack were our remote booth commentators for the first time ever in the history of the world, I'm going to go with.
Yep.
Or anywhere.
I think ever in broadcasting.
I think probably ever in broadcasting. We had a remote booth. So they were in San Francisco. The event was in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I sent the signal to them. I received their audio. We pushed it all out. Blah, 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 blah. and there was some commentary. Terry got to run a camera and have a lot of time to think.
Did lots of thinking. It's funny what you think about when you're not talking. Sometimes. Anyway, so Dana, you were at home. You took in some of the action, all of the action, a little of the action. What did you see? What jumped out at you? We saw this battle on the women's side, which became somewhat lopsided right off the bat, thanks to Miss Pierce. And then on the men's side, you know, we see the title on the men's side also defended by one Wysocki. Give us your hot take on Jonesboro from afar.
Oh, so much to talk about, and it's got to start with Paige. She didn't even think she was going to play the event because she was out in Nantucket with Tina Stenitis, doing some wedding planning. Got into Arkansas late, and I don't think did she get any practice in?
No.
She probably hadn't picked a disc up since the last tournament, and she went out and shot like a 10.25 rated first round, and basically distanced herself from the field and more or less coasted to a win through some treacherous weather round 2, and then played a strong final round to get herself another win on the year and stay perfect. So that's my first big take from the event. Also on the women's side, Madison Walker, Mad City. She's proving to seemingly be healthy, and she's playing some really good disc golf this year. We've seen her win an A-tier in Florida, and she might have won 2 A-tiers this year already. But anyways, Madison's playing some really good disc golf, which is good to see her coming off that injury-riddled 2017 campaign. Jen Allen finished tied for second. Saw her throwing some smash drives during the coverage. I'm looking forward to checking out. I haven't had a chance to see your post-produced coverage, but the stuff that was spliced into the men's coverage, Jennifer was smashing. She throws far.
She does, as does Kona. And I thought Kona was going to play very well. The first day she'd shot pretty well. I mean, she was only, it looked like she was in third place.
Yeah, it was.
And tied for third, I believe. And then the Cali girl ran into some snow. And that second round, she shot like 18 over par. And I think I'm assuming that it was just like most of the women. I think that round shot like 6 strokes worse than it did the round before, and it seemed to affect her more so than a lot of the other women in the field. But ultimately, I think she is Kona is kind of the rising star right now. If I had to pick one, she's the name in the face to kind of look out for. Last year it was Lisa Fakis, and I think this year you're going to see that same thing from Kona.
Kona, she's out on tour right now. She's touring with Colton and Bart in the Discmania RV. So we'll see her at some more events here through this next stretch of the tour. And if you follow her on social media, you know she's playing and practicing disc golf every day. So it's good to see those gains coming over on the tournaments and have her, playing some good rounds and playing on the lead card and getting some good experience. So it'll be fun to see how that develops for sure.
Yeah, and Seth kind of echoes what I was about to say too. She really just struggled on the opening day. She had a poor finish on hole number 18, and that was really all that kept her. I mean, obviously there's other shots on the course, but that ultimately kept her off of staying on the featured/lead card for the second day, and I really thought she was putting herself in position to do just that. And hole 18 was a little bit of a heartbreaker throughout the weekend for some of the women out there, and Jen Allen ultimately slipped into that tie for second place because I think she finished with like a 7 or an 8 on hole 18 during that round, and just struggled there. Otherwise, she was much more comfortably looking at second place by herself. And Sarah Holcomb, you know, had she made her, what obviously would have been her second to last throw, had she made that putt, she would have been right in there on that tie as well. So 18, we saw everything from 4s to 8s, I think, on hole number 18. And a 4 is incredibly impressive. I think, well, I'm just talking on the women's side. Yeah. So
Madison poured it to finish a round, which definitely impressive. And Jen did take a 7, so a little 3-stroke swing to jump Madison into the tie for second from the second card.
Yes. So very, very crazy to see that on 18. Dana, what's
Most
your
definitely
before we move on to the men, I just want to ask quickly, what is your favorite hole out there at that course from what you've seen?
Oh, that looks like such a fun, high quality pro course to play. And it may seem cheap to talk about it, but 18 seems really, really daunting and scary. But hole 1 looked like a really fun starting hole, just kind of a grip it and rip it, but with some trouble on the sides and nice little elevation. So yeah, I don't have a too solid of an answer other than hole, it looked like a great starting hole and then a really great finishing hole. Especially 18, a lot of times we see courses end on a hole that doesn't offer a whole lot of opportunity for score and spread, and we definitely saw it on the women's side and on the men's side, an incredibly hard tee shot. And, even if you hit the tee shot, you still have work to do to score the birdie. And those are the types of holes that I want to see on the pro tour, and I want to see our top pros play and then subsequently finish on. I think that's exciting disc golf. And, that's always looming in the back of your head. You've got hole 18 waiting for you.
I think my favorite hole is, and I don't know the number, the one where they throw it over the water. It's 6. A big. Is that 6? The big
on the one shot or on hole
on
okay. Then you're thinking
the second
16.
shot. Yeah, 16. It seems like it's a fun drive to get up and rip. You need to have a really good first drive to put yourself in position, and I think it's just a really good golf hole. And then you can risk trying to take an Annie around the corner if you don't make it. It seems like everyone ends up off to the right there on the woods, and most people seem to pitch up to a ideal spot. I really liked that one. I thought it was a very well. It filmed well.
No, I was going to say the opposite. Well, I was going to say the opposite in that I like the hole itself and how it plays and the challenge that is there. I think it's one of the most difficult holes for us to adequately cover.
It might be, but
because of the trees that are right in the sight lines. The players want to avoid the trees, obviously, to put themselves in position, but then almost no matter where you stand to try and actually film it, when they throw their what ideally would be their second shot, it's really challenging to follow those. And so it's kind of funny. I was just thinking, that's a great hole. It's really difficult hole to film.
But I think it came across on camera as a hard hole and just a well-designed hole. I mean, not everything that is easy to film is a good hole. Everything that's hard to film is a bad hole, or vice versa. So I enjoyed that hole particularly.
I think I like, now that I'm thinking a little bit about it, hole 14 seemed like a pretty high-quality pro par 3. It's that big downhiller, and then it has a tight finish with a really unique green.
That double G went deep.
Like the one he almost aced.
Yeah, there was almost a star frame on league card final round, which seemed pretty amazing.
Okay.
But
what else did you see on the men's side?
Let's talk about some of the storylines on the men's side. We'll start with the positive first. Raincoat Ricky is back. He's struggled early this season, and
by struggle you mean not win.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I saw him shoot he shot like a 970 something rated around 975 or something like that. Very, very un-Ricky like. If you guys remember a few weeks back, I know I haven't been on in a while, I said, I wonder when Ricky's going to switch back to those white putters. He got off off that burst dagger, and he's back on those white ones. But his putting's got to be better. He's winning, but yeah. So that's definitely one of the big takeaways from the weekend is Ricky. He talks about momentum a lot. Let's see if this is something that's gonna get him going towards this last part of the first quarter of the season. Well, I will say the first quarter of the season's done. Let's see if it gets him into this next part and winning some more events. But a pretty solid showing by Rick all around to overcome Garrett after the first round and then hang on to the lead going into the final round. And then Garrett, Double G Girthy. We've talked about him coming back on tour, and we saw him with a slow start to the season out at wintertime and Memorial. He didn't have a great finish, but these last two Pro Tour events, second place this weekend, third place at Waco?
I was just going to confirm fourth place at Waco.
Fourth place. So starting to round into form. We saw him struggle that final round early with his putting. That's always kind of been the Achilles. That's always been Garrett's issue on the course. He's an incredible thrower, more power than any disc golfer really needs or should have. But putting green, if he's putting the disc in the basket, we're going to keep seeing his name up towards the top.
Yeah, it's funny watching Double G. He has such a casual putt. Like, it almost seems like if you didn't know him, you would think he doesn't care. The way he throws up just like this hyzer putt, like, whatever. And then when he's missing, it looks like, oh, wow, Double G's really down. He doesn't even care. But then he starts throwing them just like that and putting them in from 30, 40, 20, wherever he seems to be out. He was draining them that last half of the round. So it was an interesting change of pace. And I think that I would be hard-pressed to think of another player, maybe other than Eagle, that has a longer golf throw than Double G on the course. We all know Simon can crush. We all know Eagle can crush off the course. They've got great form. But when you walk up to a 600-foot golf hole, there's really only three people I think that are like, if it's flat, I'm like, he's got it easy. I can't think of really, maybe Paul can get there, but if he really lays into it, but Double G has some power.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous just how dialed he can be with that, and watching him throw it is just so much fun. And Chris Young on the board had said, does he ever get mad, or have I just not seen enough video? I was going to say his putt, as you just defined, is casual. His putt matches his demeanor. It's pretty laid back. It's pretty casual, and his mentality and outlook and mindset are clearly one of his biggest assets besides being able to throw as far as he does. He just has one of the most lovable, likable demeanors and personality anywhere, disc golf and beyond. It's pretty much impossible not to like the guy. So that's why you see so many people that know him are welcoming him back with open arms to see him back on the tour and see him out there, because it's just really impossible not to have a good thing to say about him, or to be engulfed in his, or embraced by his personality. So all around awesome guy.
That haircut is on point too.
Yeah, unlike mine, I got a message saying my hair is looking a little disheveled here tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, you're struggling lately, Terry, with the hair game. One more big positive takeaway from the weekend. It's got to be Colton Montgomery. Currently 995 rated. We first saw him on tour last year in the Discmania RV, touring around with Simon. He's back in the RV this year, touring with Bart. They're running the Discmania fantasy doubles events and also playing on tour. Colton, he's a gamer. I played with him at the Vyram Open last year, and he was just smashing PDs, like so far. Like ace run hole 2 and hole 16, literally going deep, like just line drive shots with the PD. I'm like, this guy has game. This kid has game. but incredible player, and he put it all together this last weekend. It was fun to see him on the lead card final round. You kind of wondered, all right, he's live on SmashBoxx. He's Disc Golf Pro Tour event, playing with Ricky Wysocki, James Conrad, Double G, playing with these veterans, these great players, and he held his own. Had a little hiccup with some putts there early on, but then just back nine really turned it on. He had 2 pars on the back nine. He missed a putt in the circle on hole 14 that would have gave him the star frame on the card, and then, or actually, he had 3 pars 17 and 18, but he netted the eagle on 16. So really awesome stuff to see Colton stepping his game up and hanging with the big dogs, and where he's on tour. Don't be surprised if we see him on SmashBoxx again.
How did you get sponsored by Discmania? It seems like they only sponsor young crushers. How did you get sponsored by Discmania?
That hang out in that RV.
Well,
I lied about my age.
And you gave him your internet distance.
There you go.
I said I could throw PD2. No, they need players like me that everyone else can relate to distance wise. Because you see these Colton, Simon, Eagle throw PD2s, and there's me. I can't throw the PD2 like those guys. Not many people can unless you have incredible power. So I'm more of the people's player of Team Discmania.
You are the people's champ. We do know that.
I don't know what they see in me, but here I am. I'm grateful for their support. But yeah, I throw slower speed discs like the CD3 and CD2, and could throw them 400 feet. And these guys, are smashing 500 plus foot shots with these extremely overstable discs. But yeah, that was a good question. Tough question.
I was just curious because I know they do the combine. You guys do the combine as well, and I was just thinking, I'm assuming they just walk up and say, "All right, throw it." Nah, sorry, you're not skinny enough. You don't throw far enough, and you're not young enough. And they just line up the ones that fit their mold, and that's how they pick their players. So
not entirely true. We Bob Kolchak from Mass. He's a Masters age player. We picked him up through the combine last year. So it's not all about getting those crush boys. Although that definitely is. It seems to be there's a lot of them. But for anyone that is interested in getting sponsored by Discmania, the only way that we're really picking people up is through the combine. There's 3 combine events this year. One in your backyard in Madison, one in Portland, and then I believe one in, oh boy, it's maybe Georgia or North Carolina towards the end of the season. But there are 3 this year. You can find out at discmania.net. Thank you for letting me. I figured if you guys let Johnny Football plug his Instagram, I can at least plug a Discmania combine event. Let people know how to get sponsored by Discmania.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna send UC an invoice for that plug that you just made there. Sound good?
Did you invoice Ian for? Or wait, no, that was Johnny. That was
his personal.
Corey plugging his. So that wasn't Central Coast.
Nope.
I heard about that.
Yeah, that's a little cross contamination there with having the Central Coast Corey on SmashBoxx. How did that feel to hear that coming through the airwaves? Was it a little weird?
It was weird. I mean, Terry didn't hear it.
I didn't hear a word.
It was a little strange for me because we have such a routine down, and you can watch the footage and realize, especially on the first day, that we weren't all on the same page. There was normally, if we'll just take the end of a particular hole, someone putts out. Usually the cameraman can hear Terry say something along the lines of, "All right, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be back at hole 16. Cameraman gets up and goes. Because the cameraman can't hear the booth, and we're on this big, long 15-second delay from the field, the cameraman would get up and move right away. And
because I have places to go,
he's got
and
places to
do.
be. And Johnny or usually it was Corey. I wanted to call him Johnny Disc Golf, but usually it was Corey that was trying to get out a close. And so we had, the next day we kind of talked about it. It's like, all right, we need a little bit more time here, and you need to quicken this up. And, we started to get our bearings a little bit better. So you saw less of suddenly like the camera turning sideways and walking away. But that's what that is. That's all communication. And when you don't see that, it's because we have such a tight routine and we know what we're doing for the most part. But it was different hearing somebody else drone on and not Terry drone on. Yeah. And I don't really listen too much. It's all kind of words to me at some point, and then I'm focusing on other things. But it was unique. That's for certain. And there was a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. There was a little bit of strangeness, thinking like, this guy's a Central Coast guy. Like, he knows. I mean, he is known for being Central Coast. And is there going to be any sort of weirdness? Is there going to be any sort of people that are like, oh, you guys are teaming up or anything like that? And it's just, Corey's a good guy. He's knowledgeable. He was free that weekend because he wasn't going to Arkansas. He lives in San Francisco near Sean Jack. It all kind of worked out. And I thought he did a decent job.
Steve Dodge also asked me today how things went. And I know how things went from a camera's perspective. Obviously, the camera that I was working. I have yet to be able to go back and take a look at anything. I mean, of course, I've gotten a few very kind messages, few not so kind messages, and everything in between. I've gotten a few of those, a very small sample size. I did not seek out any type of feedback. I mean, I know all of my favorite places like the Reddits and Disc Golf Course Review and all those places that I've learned to just kind of avoid for the most part. Good, bad, or indifferent. So I haven't gotten a ton of feedback, like I said, because I didn't really seek too much out. So I'm interested to go back and watch some of it myself, which is not a common practice for me.
You never do.
Exactly.
It's really funny because I'll have to tell you specifically sometimes, no, go watch this that happened, because you never, ever watch, and nor do I, go back and watch the live feed because we lived through it. There was no point in it.
So, yeah, that's what I'm going to go back. Steve kind of challenged me to do just that. Go back. He said, watch, some various pieces here, and then we're going to have probably a little conference call, myself, Johnny, and Steve, and we'll probably talk about some things, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. I mean, I could just assume some things went really well. Some things probably didn't go so well, and then there was some stuff that was status quo. So, needless to say, it was a interesting learning experience from a technology side of things, from a strategy side. There was a lot of moving parts, and it's funny to realize that even on the board, some people are saying like they didn't realize, they were in California, or that they were, not where Johnny was, or that they weren't at the course. I mean, there was a lot of maybe guessing or assumptions that were going on out there. But to know that we are filming in Arkansas to shoot a signal to Milwaukee, the signal goes from Milwaukee over to California to come back and then to be put on the internet. It sounds like some next level stuff is what it sounds like. Now, does that mean it's easy? No, but it was certainly a good opportunity, and who knows what the future is going to have in any given direction.
And my favorite before
I
let Dana talk a little bit, my favorite comment always is if not everybody likes everybody as far as commentary goes. You may not enjoy someone's commentary. Someone on the internet may not enjoy your commentary, and somebody for once maybe might not enjoy Dana's commentary.
No,
I know.
Yeah, I heard that.
But my favorite is
flashback to
every time you've commentated. And my favorite one is you guys need to get some top pros in there.
Oh, okay.
And all I keep thinking is, what are you watching, moron? They can't commentate and play.
I mean, the American Tour did it.
Yeah, they strapped Barry on while he was playing. And that's my favorite comment is like, you guys need to get top pros on there. And I'm thinking, they're all playing, unless you want a top pro from 1989. Like, would it be great to have Kenny in there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure. But, I just, that's my favorite one. And I just shake my head. And it's like, yes, that's awesome that the post-production guys can do that because they're not playing. at the time when they record the commentary. But for us to do it, I'll tell you what, they're going to make more money taking 15th or 18th or
29th,
99th place than what we're going to pay them. So that's my slight little rant. Dana, what were your thoughts?
I thought that those two as a duo did pretty good. They you could tell it was a little bit different for Corey, going live commentary versus the post-produced. But he worked his way into it, and Sean provided a lot of great insight. They're a pretty good yin and yang, I would say, to styles. And by final round, I watched a little bit of the first round, and I had the whole final round on while we were home casually watching with the family, and I thought they did a good job. And having the commentators in the booth, it's a lot easier to talk, and maybe a few times there was a little bit too much talking. I think I saw a Disc Golf Nerd say Corey should have maybe, instead of guessing what they're going to throw, just kind of let it happen and let the viewers hear it. But so being in the booth is nice because you don't have to worry about whispering. You don't have to worry about the players hearing you or their parents
or snow.
It's an inside joke with Terry. But yeah, so that part was nice. I'm interested to see if it happens again, and if it'll be the same group or whatever it might be. But I enjoy both, and I can appreciate it because I've been out there with Terry and doing the live, and it's a challenge, and I think I'm excited for the future of things and where it's going, and you guys are kicking some butt.
And I don't think I'm
nice work.
I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but right now the plan, and we are still a few weeks out, so it could change. The plan is to have a booth at GBO, but there are other circumstances that might change that or could enhance that. We'll see. But
I'm going to take on a different role, which I'm excited about. I'm actually just going to be out there as a spotter on hole number 9, and then I'm going to call in what's happening from the 9th hole.
Nice.
It's going to be pretty sweet. Good idea, Dana?
You lost me.
Never mind. No, what I did want to say real quickly is, oh, sorry, I'm reading all the comments on the board. It's very undetermined, and I think that's one of the challenges here. And I don't know if challenges is the right word, but a clarification that's worth making. It's undetermined exactly in what way the road is going to fork and which path we're going to take, or if we're going to be able to dabble or try one or do one versus another. That's going to come down to money. It's going to come down to other resources, manpower, things of that nature. Those are all different things that we have to consider when moving forward in terms of having, whether it's remote commentary or multiple people at the event or multiple courses, whatever the case might be. Those are all a lot of different things that have to be considered. So I think from what I gathered, a lot of people either assumed, like Will Schustrick, I'll say, at one point before the start of the first round, he said, there's commentary from offsite? I said, yep, that's what we're doing. He goes, okay, because I don't know if you read the article or whatever. I assume he listened to us a couple days earlier. But I said, yep. And he goes, is it always going to be that way? I said, no. I mean, by the next event, we're likely going to go, the next Pro Tour stop, we're going to go back to what it was. And so I just think, obviously, some people are assuming that, oh, this is a permanent change. And I guess what I'm really trying to utter out is that it's not. We don't know what's going to happen.
That might be the only Pro Tour stop we do this at this year. It was a trial balloon. Things might change in the future, but as of right now, we have no plans for any more Disc Golf Pro Tour events to have a booth. So we'll see.
We shall see. And I wish I had one of those cool air horns that DJs use. Breaking news. We're going to be kicking you off pretty soon here, Dana. We've got a Ricky Wysocki hanging out on deck.
Whoa.
So the champ, not just the people's champ, the real champ, is hanging out on deck. So just want to give everyone a quick alert that we can wrap it up. I'm just letting you know we've got a Wysocki hanging out there ready to come give us some updates. And I'll real quickly follow that up and say, I did reach out to Paige Pierce. She said, I think her exact words were she was on a long hike today. And she was going to be then taking a long drive. And she said possibly next week, if it works out, she'd like to join us next week. I've also reached out to Madison Walker, whose laptop apparently semi-exploded today in a not too dangerous way, but somewhat exploded. But, you know, with her successes and everything she's been had going on, we definitely want to catch up with Madison Walker soon as well. I talked to James Conrad in person. I said, we'd love to have you on the show. And he's like, yep, sounds good. We'll find a way. And one more quick one. I don't know if it was if it was a blanket spam email or if he genuinely was seeking me out, but Scott Stokely reached out to me recently and said, hey, I'd love to be on the show and catch up with you guys. He made it sound like, I don't know if he's reading an email that I sent him 3 years ago or what, but it would be more than fitting to have an update from Scott Stokely sometime soon. So just throwing out some spoilers of who we may see coming down the pipe here in the next few weeks.
One last question for Dana. After day one, did you feel like it was 2011? We had Felberg up there. We had Double G up there. Johnny McRae's playing well. Shoestrick.
Yeah.
Did you kind of feel like?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, and actually, that I'm glad you brought some of those names up. That was something I wanted to talk about too. Is the return of Shoestrick. He had a really solid first round and a really solid third round. Second round, not so much, but he finished in 13th place. Pretty darn good shooting, and good to see Will back out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour at an elite event, and see him on the lead card. I know he's still got a lot left in the tank. His shoulder's still a work in progress, so hopefully it'll continue to get better. And what an exciting time for disc golf. If we've got a healthy Will Shoestrick, we got Double G back out there, and Johnny McRae still doing it at his age. That's not a slight. I'm just saying he's older. He's playing with players half his age, and he's kicking their butts. We got Joel Freeman, who's out on the scene. He crushed that final round, 11 down. One thing I did want to say, Paul Macbeth kind of thought maybe after his Throwdown the Mountain win, he had kind of found his groove, but couldn't quite put it together out there at Jonesboro. I don't know if the weather wasn't up to what he was feeling, if it was a weather thing, but I feel like that course sets up really well for Paul's throwing style. It's a long course and one that you need those long golf shots, and as we said earlier, Paul's one of the best in the game at those. So it was a little bit of a surprise to see him fall in at 13th place.
I agree.
And then, of course, the last thing, which Johnny spoiled it already, jerk. Chris Dickerson, his streak is over. He finished in 11th place. I was
sorry. I don't know that.
That's what Alexa said to Chris Dickerson when he didn't win. He said, "Sorry, I don't know that." Very appropriate.
On that note, Alexa, play some Bone Thugs. I gotta go.
All right, turn them off before we get demonetized.
Oh, bye, Dana.
Good night, Dana. We're going to Wysocki.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it when the automated assistants, I don't want to say their names because you say it out loud and they activate.
And they actually trigger at people's houses.
They'll trigger at people's houses. So.
Eric Party, thank you so much for the super chat.
Wes
along
Warren.
with Wes Warren. We appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much. Again, Wysocki, Ricky that is, said he's logged in and ready to go when you are. And I told him we're just trying to get Dana off the darn line already so we could get to Mr. Wysocki. So we'll be dialing him up in just a moment here, hopefully. Wow, is it says September we talked to him. I wonder if we've talked to him since then. Is that a full log?
Well, not via we talked to him at I think last time we talked to him.
Well, we'll find out. All right. Well, we're going to welcome him in just a moment here. It looks like he's all dialed up. We just need some video from him. And I think we should be good to go, hopefully, in a moment. And just like that, he's all queued up like he's a pro. This interview stuff.
He knows what he's doing now. He keeps, he's finally in the winner's circle.
Oh, yeah.
He's been begging to get on SmashBoxx.
When I talked to him before I interviewed him after as we closed out the show, he said, the only thing that keeps me motivated is knowing that I might be able to appear on SmashBoxx on Tuesday night. So I got to get this win. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Great, dude. Thanks for the intro, and thanks for telling everyone my secret.
Yeah, I do have to first apologize. We were kind of uncertain which way the show or how it was going to go down tonight, and it was really just a matter of minutes ago I reached out to you and said, if you're available. So first and foremost, thank you so much for the last moment plans and joining us. I know the Smashies are loving it. What are you doing? What are you up to right now?
So I'm actually just in Arkansas. I did like a little mini sake bomb challenge, and just outside of Little Rock yesterday at a course in Bryant. Me and Kevin Jones did a little demonstration at a course where we had like, I think it was like 20 to 30 players, and we did like a triple. So we each picked 2 players on our team, and we play a skins match with those 2 players, and then everyone would win a prize at the end. And me and Kevin played for the money, and then the other players played for a disc and some other swag and some cool merchandise. So yeah, we did that. We rotated, got everyone involved. It's kind of a cool way to get all the spectators and actually turn into a player on every hole. So you have a certain group of partners every hole, and it rotates and it gets everyone involved to interact and mingle with everyone. It's kind of a cool way to learn with get to know everyone that shows up for these functions instead of just doing a clinic and then not really interacting too much. So I think it's a cool way for us to do that. So we did that yesterday with Kevin. He's local here in Arkansas, so he's got a big following with all the Arkansas people looking up to him. So I did that with him, and then I'm in just north of Little Rock, it's 2 hours in Mountain View. Did a little stop at the course with some local club members, played around, just hanging out in the cabin right now.
Wow, awesome! Sounds like you've been busy. Now, be honest. During this triples match, did they have to rely on any of your shots, or did everybody else carry you?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. We did so every hole someone won. So it wasn't like there was no pushes. It was a different way to do it. So we did if whoever had the CTP won, if we both got a 2 or both got a 3, it goes to CTP. So it wasn't like, it actually made a big difference on where your drive landed. So if it was a par 4, we did the second shot CTP, par 3, first shot CTP if we tied. So either you win the hole outright, or you have to put whoever's closest wins the hole. So it's kind of a cool way to avoid a push because, in triples that's pretty frequent. Do we tie? So it's like, on the easier holes we're probably going to 2 it, and then the long par 4s are probably going to 3 it. So it adds a little excitement every hole instead of just tying a lot.
So now one of the things you do on tour, you set up, you've got lots of merchandise and you're vending, and they can of course check out sakebomb.com. If I got that right? If they want to order online. But you're talking about clinics, you're talking about triples, you dabble in kind of a lot of different things. Do you feel like any of that, does that take away from your practice, or is that something you just already have kind of built into your routine? Yeah,
I mean, mostly it's kind of built in. I mean, when I'm playing, I'm going to be practicing anyway, so I'm basically practicing with a group of people at a club. So where I'd normally be playing a practice round anyway. So it's not like I'm completely taking a day off to just do clinics and demonstrations and all that kind of stuff. I'm still playing and practicing, getting my throughout the round. I'm still making small tweaks in my form. If I notice something I'm doing wrong, I'll be able to just kind of tweak it throughout the round. So I'm still considering it like a practice round. Of course, I want to play well for all the fans and stuff out there that are watching, but at the same time, I'm still making tweaks in here and there. So, and I'm never really planning on overextending myself in a week. So Monday and Tuesday maybe do one, but closer to the tournament, I'm just gonna kind of dial, start working my way to the tournament course and practicing there and get all my time and most of the reps on those courses.
Now, there was a little conversation, and I'll be the first to admit I didn't dig deeper into it. What was going on? You had your new vehicle recently kind of wrapped and all customized, but then it sounded like you were maybe one of the windows was faulty, or somebody was just trying to get in there, or what happened?
Yeah, so I was I just stopped for the night in Little Rock on the way to Jonesboro, and just stopped, I actually got an Airbnb for the night at someone's house. It was a really nice area. And so I stopped for the night, slept, and woke up in the morning, my window got smashed out, and so I was just kind of like weirded out. They didn't really take anything. The weird part was they didn't really take much, though, and they had like cash and stuff in my car from a previous clinic I had done, and they didn't take any of that. And so I was really shocked that they didn't take any of that stuff. They just kind of broke in, checked everything out, and didn't really take too much. So I was just out the window basically. I had to get a new window. I think they were looking for credit cards and more stuff like that. I think they might have got spooked or something, because otherwise that's the only thing I can think of. But for them not taking the cash, I had a little, in my side pocket, driver's side door, I had a little bit of cash from one of the tournaments. There were Wysocki bomb challenges, so I was kind of surprised that they didn't really have. I think broke the window, got a little spooked or something, and just kind of hopefully left. So I feel like I was actually kind of lucky that I didn't get more money and more. I had a camera in there, I had all kinds of stuff that was valuable, and of course the merchandise for the disc. So I think I'm going to start and invest in an alarm system. So it doesn't happen again.
Come on, you're like a 2-time world champ. You need some kind of security just hanging outside your vehicle all night, like a couple guys in a couple suits with sunglasses, middle of the night. That's what you need out there. Right. And then they could be your drivers, come daytime.
Yeah.
Step up your game, Rick.
Yeah, I know.
You're big time now. I don't know if you know that. You're on SmashBoxx, and you're big time. It's time for some drivers.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
So what was more exciting for you this weekend, your disc golf victory or your gambling victory?
No, friendly wager.
I believe it was an official wager made in Vegas.
No, it was not. I didn't get that crazy. It was basically just a buddy of mine, me and a buddy, kind of just went in, it was Masters, it's Masters week. I'm not, I'll gamble once in a while. I'm not like crazy into it, but I just like golf, Masters. I like to watch it. I was like, all right, I'll throw down a little bit. And so I ended up throwing $40 on Patrick Reed, and I think I picked 2 other golfers, and me and my buddy had 3 golfers. We both picked 3, and we kind of were splitting the profit. So it turns out, $40 turns into $1,400. Because Patrick ended up winning the tournament. I was like following him all week, and pretty pumped because there was a couple other guys. I think Bubba Watson was another pick we had. Let's see, Justin Rose was in contention. So there was a couple players that were near the lead that had a chance coming down the final day, and so like I said, I didn't really get to see the way it turned out. But my buddy that I split with, he was pumped, and he was saying that I double dipped and it was really cool. So yeah, we got a nice return on investment there.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't know why everybody doesn't do that. Just win on the course and then win a little side cash, coming out of Augusta.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, it's fun, and I really enjoy watching golf. So that's that's one thing I do like. I just kind of I can relate to them. I see the way they play and so I just that's just one thing I've really one sport I really like. So I think it's because I'm, the way I compete and play, I can kind of translates over to golf, so I can kind of appreciate what they do as well.
Did you have any conversations? Madison Walker was there at Augusta leading into the tournament a few days before it. I know she was there visiting and on the grounds and doing stuff she shouldn't have been doing, including crawling in the bushes and taking pictures and whatever else she was doing. But did you have any conversations at all this weekend with Madison about and then my second question is, have you been to Augusta yourself in terms of Augusta National? So did you talk to Madison and have you ever been there?
Yeah, I was talking to her actually a little bit. She was saying that she went for one of the practice days, which is awesome. It's really cool. That's one of my. I have a buddy that actually lives there in Augusta, Jeff Rick. I think people probably know him. He's a caddy actually at Augusta National. And he's caddied for a lot of significant players there before, and he's always trying to get me to go, and I'm always it's always during a tournament, and now it's during the Jonesboro Open. It's always during that same week, and now it's going to be hard for me to not come back next year having a chance to three-peat. So it's like so it just gets harder and harder to go every year. Of course I want to go, and I'm going to go eventually. One of these years I'm going to take him up, but he said he can hook me up with some type of tickets, and I would love that. So I'm looking forward to someday doing that. But yeah, he's a disc golfer. I always stay with them for some of the tournaments in Augusta there for the IDGC tournaments at the NT and stuff they have at the IDGC. I always stay with them, so I have a good relationship with him, and he's I consider him a friend. So it's cool that he's given the opportunity to. I just got to take him up on it one day.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what was your premonition? Why in the world did you think picking on Reed? What was it the long shot odds, or do you have some other tie to him, or some other story about him that you thought, oh yeah, let's go with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of like, I picked a couple players that I thought were really actually going to win, not based on the odds. You know, I really like watching him play. He's a really fiery player. I mean, if you've seen him play on like match plays, he's just super, always gets pumped up. He's really, you know, I just feel like he has the mental capacity that it takes to win a tournament. I mean, you know, he's, like I said, he's always getting fiery. He's a great player to begin with. He's been real close to winning a lot of big tournaments. He's a great golfer, obviously, in general. So I don't know. I think, you know, I just had a feeling that he was going to play well. And, you know, like I said, well, he wasn't the only person I picked, so I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw, you know, $40 on him, and he's going to, you know, like I said, we had 6 golfers that had a chance to win. So I think it was Bubba Watson, Justin Rose, obviously Patrick Reed, and then there was a couple long shots like Ches Reavie. He was a long shot because he had actually played well. I went to a golf tournament in Arizona, and Ches Reavie actually ended up getting second. It was kind of like I feel like he had a lot of value because he's kind of underrated because he didn't actually win that tournament, but he was obviously tied for the lead and went into a playoff and earlier in the year. So he was, you know, and he was like $40 to win, like, I don't know, some ridiculous $4 or $5 grand or something. That's how, you know. But yeah, golf, like I said, it's not like a frequent that I gamble, especially on golf. It's like, you know, it's just so hard. I realize that. So it's like, I'm going to take this win and be like, you know, obviously take all the money I invested and just put it away and take a little profit from that, and then maybe mess around with the rest. And so that way I'm still a winner, even if I lose some of it.
That's the way to do it.
I love it. You are a wise man here. Now, here's my last question regarding the Masters and the golf and the betting and Patrick Reed, because I couldn't pick him. You could line up 4 Patrick Reeds and I wouldn't know who he is. So I obviously don't follow golf either, though. But so here's my question to you. And I think maybe this will tell me everything I need to know. Who is the disc golf version of Patrick Reed?
Wow, that's a good question.
And why? Because I don't know Patrick Reed.
I think of all his personality traits. He's a good match play player. He's a great teammate. He's got really good. He always pairs well with like Jordan Spieth, and they really get along. He's the typical American kid. Kind of went to college, played well in college golf. He's always been buddies with like the top, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, those kind of guys. And he's been very clutch, like tournaments where Jordan Spieth hasn't played very well in the Ryder Cup, so to say. I think even this year he played really well. Jordan Spieth played the last Ryder Cup they had, and Patrick Reed played really well, and Jordan Spieth didn't. So I'm just trying to think out loud what all his personality traits that I can compare it to see if I can pick someone out. The first thing I think of is his build is actually a lot like Garrett Gurthie.
I was thinking the same thing after seeing. I couldn't have picked Patrick Reed out of a crowd a week or two ago, but then you see him and he's a little bit thicker of a guy, and that's the first person I thought of was Double G.
Yeah, he's kind of bulky, but he's not really like chunky. It's like he's got like, and he's not like super tall, but he's not short. He's got a big build. He hits the ball pretty far, and Garrett. I think Garrett's more of like super nice, where which is good. Garrett's down to earth. He's a great guy, super awesome and nice. But I'm trying to think, so the build, I compare it to him as far as like the mental side and how fiery he gets. I would have to say more like Johnny, because he, when he's playing well, and I mean even he's really fiery. He's like into the tournament. Every shot, if he makes a great shot, he's just super pumped, which is awesome to see that someone has that much mental capacity to to do that, and fiery, and he cares. It just shows that he cares, and he's really into it. So I think I would say, as far as his personality and mental aspect, I would compare him to Johnny when he's playing well, and like as everyone knows, he's pumped, he fist pumps, and he just So I think that that he would be the person I would relate him with.
All right.
For those reasons.
That says a lot. I appreciate that. And one thing we didn't note real quick when we were talking to Dana, we were really praising just Double G and great to see him on the tour and everything else. I need to apparently check in with his workout plan. He's shed a few pounds. He looks great. Double G has not always been as slender as he is now, and clearly he's known that. It's not like it's a big secret. I'm not ripping on him. I'm not one to talk. But he looks great. I mean, he's clearly been doing something or some things to get him to where he is. So people that are just seeing him, on our coverage and in the videos, and we'll say in the last few months, as opposed to a handful of years ago, he's gone through some great transitions, and hats off to him, and it's awesome to see. So I wanted to say that earlier, and I didn't really spit that out, but it's awesome to see. Do you have any idea what he did to trim up a little?
No, I didn't, but whatever it is, it's amazing, and he's just so fun to watch. I mean, he's, as far as a golf shot, I mean, he's probably throws the furthest, and just fun to watch golf shots out of anyone. I mean, there's a lot of players that can throw far and whatever, but I mean, as far as a golf shot, and he can throw distance shots, but he can throw golf shots. So it's like he can throw, just the fact that he can throw so far in a low line laser beam is the most impressive out of anyone I've ever seen.
You kind of sound like Johnny V from earlier. I don't know if that's a good thing, but Johnny said the exact same thing.
Well, I didn't watch the show earlier, so I didn't take it from him.
No, I know. That's scary, though, that you're thinking the same as Johnny.
Well, one of the cool things about Double G is that his golf form is almost identical to his distance form. He doesn't change it up. He's not so much of a 360 guy. He
doesn't throw it 50 feet in the air. He can, of course, but he doesn't have to get distance. He can throw it low, and which is I think that's more impressive than throwing it 50, 60 feet in the air, throwing it a million feet. Of course, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong, but as far as a golf aspect, which is for me being a golfer and player, distance is great, but it's not, as we all know, it's not what it's about. So his distance is more useful as far as being able to line drive low laser beams as far as he can, and more useful on the golf course to score. I mean, there's not very many times you can throw it 60, 80 feet in the air and throw a full, to get a full flex out of a shot. There's a lot more times you can throw it 10, 12 feet off the ground, and even lower to get 500, 600, 700 feet. Not even 700 feet, but 500 to 600 feet, which you can do no problem.
All right, so I'll follow that up and say 600-foot shot wide open. Do you want you to be driving it, or if you could you substitute in Double G for that throw? If it was still for your score, though.
That is.
What's that?
That's no-brainer. No-brainer. That's a Garrett.
Okay. So that says a lot.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out. No, you actually cut out a little bit, but no, that says a lot. You said Double G.
I think that's like asking Garrett what he would want. If he had a 35-footer for the win of a tournament, who would he pick, himself or me? So it's like, I think. But I know him well enough to where I'm going to give him credit for the drive, and I think he'll give me credit for the putt.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Do I smell an Am World's Doubles? Huh? They just had it this last weekend. Maybe next year you two could show up, maybe in disguises.
Yeah, exactly. He might have to change up his form a little bit.
Well, let's talk. You brought it up. Let's talk a little bit about your putt, and we'll talk about Jonesboro. There was some talk of you changing discs, that you maybe weren't. That the putters you were using a couple of weeks ago weren't the same as your other ones. I don't pay that much attention to the color and the burst and this and that, but
yeah, I mean, so yeah, basically the Memorial came out, and I wanted to try out my new Moonshine putters, and that's kind of when I wasn't really putting that well. I missed way more putts than I normally do, and so people were seeing me miss putts, and they're oh, it's a putter, and it was a little bit of putter. And I didn't feel quite as comfortable, so I probably shouldn't have switched. And as far as mental side, I don't know whether it was mental, physical, whatever, So I think it was a little bit of both. The grip's a little bit different on the Moonshine plastic, so I didn't really give myself time to adjust to that, and so the putts weren't coming out clean out of my hand. Little thing huge difference, especially, when you're under pressure in a tournament. You want to go back to exactly what you know and what works. And so I knew the grip on my old putter, and I just decided to say, I'm not going to use those anymore, because it's not because it's a bad putter. It's just because I don't have, a couple weeks or a month to get used to a putter in the middle of the season. And that's when they end up coming out right before the Memorial. So it was like bad timing. Maybe next year, if I have time to have, have a month or 2 months to dial into a new putter and new plastic like that, then I can use it. But I just don't have the time right now to mess with it. So I just went back to what I know, and now I'll have time to, and I don't need time. I know how they work and how they fly and how they feel in my hand.
Seemed to work for you.
Yeah. No, so I've got my confidence back, and that's gonna, I'm happy.
Now, who else, maybe here's the better question, who else putts like you? And I don't just mean, who makes as many, but when I think about your form, it's very unique. The way you line up, the way you wind up, and your release and everything, I think it's a very unique form. Is there anyone else, if you had to say, I kind of think so-and-so has a similar putting style, who would that be, if anyone?
I think Nico is similar style. We got the same kind of arm swings where we come real low to the ground, and our arms coming, low, and then we're really reaching, extending high. So we're getting the high to low release. And so just the way we release the putt, and the way we kind of build our momentum with our arm, kind of swinging our, pendulum style kind of putt. He's got that similar putt. Similar style, as you want to say, like, whether it's a push putt, high to low release point is basically what we have. We put it over the basket a little bit and kind of just play the slight drop, and as opposed to some people, they play the straight at it spin putt. So for me, I think we have similar putt. Of course, just like anything, we have slight differences, but I think if there's one person, I would pick Nico, as has the most similar characteristics to mine.
Now, we didn't see Nico this weekend, correct? And then again, there's a few people I didn't see, but Nico was not at the event at all. Do you know why?
No, I don't. I know I'm good buddies with Nico, and as much as people might not think so after the whole Memorial thing, we were good friends before and after that. People always make fun of me, like, "Oh, you're not friends with Nico because of this." No, that's not the case. Me and Nico are friends before and after, and probably always will be. But that's a side story. I should have even brought that up. So hopefully,
no, you're
don't
fine.
have any questions rolling.
No, honestly, it's a great clarification to make, really. But go on.
Yeah, we don't need to get into the specifics. That's gone over. But the relationship between you and Nico, obviously.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, we're cool. But I think he was playing a tournament in St. Louis. He had played a couple tournaments on tour, and I know he was saying he just wanted to take a weekend or two off. So I think he was just kind of trying to take some time to mentally recoup after the tour. As everyone knows, it gets long and it's grind. So if you feel like you need to take a week off, you go ahead and do that. As far as the players, we know how the mental grind is. So if you feel like you're not quite there, take the week off. And Yuli did the same kind of thing, and and we all understand totally how the mental game goes when you're playing a long season.
We're getting some notes on the board saying he played the Ozark Mountain event maybe in near St. Louis. So.
And the results are, we don't know because they're not posted. I went out there to look.
There was only 4 open players, so we can make the assumption that he won.
I know he finished top 4.
He bonus if he's sponsored by Gateway or whoever sponsors. He probably got a bonus. Usually it's top 5. So.
Yeah, well then
probably got a bonus coming his way.
I don't want to know any specifics as much as the rest of the world does, but when is it bonus time? You don't have to tell us how much, but when is it bonus time for Wysocki? Name a few times where you personally, based on a weekend's performance, is that a top 10? Is that a top 5? Is that a course record? Is it when you get in a fight with someone? Is there anything good when you get a bonus? What do you need to do?
Yeah, so for me, it's at the end of the month. So it all accumulates for me. So I send invoices in to Latitude. They reimburse me based on, and I have to personally go ahead and do that. I have someone helping me do that, and so they track it and they do all the behind the scenes work. and to make sure I'm getting, all the stuff, the money and stuff that I'm supposed to get, and vice versa, doing posting and doing stuff I'm supposed to do for Latitude. So it works both ways. And all my other sponsors, like Hum and other sponsors, there's certain things I'm required to do and for them, and then vice versa, there's certain things they have to do for me. So it's kind of a good partnership, but I have someone help me, and they usually do that at the end of the month. I'll usually, if I play 3 tournaments and I bonus in all 3, most of my bonuses are top 5. And of course, first, being the most, second being the, second most, and blah, down to 5th. I think it, it just depends on the tournament. Obviously, some tournaments may go down to 10th if it's an NT or major or whatever. But for the most part, if it's an A tier, and I think NT, I haven't looked 100% at it, but yeah, so it's...
You don't got time to count all that money. Come on. It just keeps rolling in, and Ricky's like, psh, I'll buy more windows. I ain't got time for that.
Right? No, got time for that $200 window, no. Yeah. But, yeah, so it's kind of at the end of the month. It's kind of just factored in.
Okay, so...
Overall.
Yeah, so the level of tournament... And then, usually in the top 5, sometimes top 10, depending on the size of the tournament. At that point is various tiers of bonuses that you may get, and then the onus is on you or your manager of sorts to keep track of all that stuff, and then officially submit something, and then they reimburse you.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people love to know. They'd love to ask you every detail about every dollar. That's not what I'm getting at, but I think just people love to know how it works. And the
logistics of it.
For every sponsored player, it's a little different.
Yeah, and that's the cool part about it. And we never used to be like that. Sometimes, they used to actually do all that work, but then you got to think about it. They have 100 players, and they have, so many different tournaments going on in a weekend. Like I said, you may have 4 or 5 different A tiers, and you have, within that A tier, you got, 10 or 15, maybe 20 players bonusing, and it's like, geez, it's just gets a lot to track. And so that's why they said, all right, if we're paying you the bonuses, it's your obligation to go ahead and do that. But at the same time, for me, there's a lot of different things that factor into what I'm getting paid in the month. So it's so that's why I have to have someone help. And for me, that between websites, sponsorships, they just keep me on track as far as, hey, you need to make a post, to promote a sponsor or whatever, just to kind of to balance it out. Because sometimes there's requirements and that kind of stuff too, to where you gotta return the favor for them. So he kind of helps with not just the money, but that helps. That takes a lot of weight off my shoulders. I don't have to go back and spend the time on doing that, all the behind the scenes stuff. He'll just send me a quick text or a quick something to do whatever I have to do to keep up for the month, and I'm pulling my end of the stick, or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome, and it's really no surprise. Someone that's as busy and successful and on the road and working as hard as you are, you absolutely have that person just as your double check, as your person that's keeping things in line to keep things organized. I think that's one of the smartest moves that yourself and others can and should be taking. It makes everything so much more professional and businesslike. I mean, at the end of the day, your job is to play really good golf. So if somebody can assist you and make your life a little bit easier so you can maintain that focus where you need it, and they're going to help in other areas. Let's face it, 10 years ago, you weren't sitting around thinking, man, I really can't wait till I'm counting my social media posts and submitting expense reports. Like nobody's thinking that. So I totally commend you for recognizing that, having that help and that person, manager, business partner, whomever, having that help is crucial. So that's great.
Yeah, and exactly, you hit all those points of like you said, 2-3 years ago, it's kind of when that all started happening. I started, having to make posts, having to do the website stuff, having to practice, so it just like I felt like so overwhelmed with the whole thing, and everything that I was doing, for disc golf, not just disc golf, but in my career and everything, just trying to balance everything out. And it's like I need someone else to help. And then I'm doing a website now to try and to have stuff on the website and do inventory. There's just so much stuff that all that stuff, and they help so much. And they they can do all the emails. They can do emailing with sponsors to make sure and I've made the connection with people to where they know that he's getting my approval at the end of the day for everything. But if it's a basic thing where, we're maybe ordering 100 or 200 hot stamp discs or whatever, he's doing all the artwork sending and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it just helps so much, like you said, and taking the stress off me so I can at the end of the day practice and play and perform the best I can.
You've got people. So how long before your people have people?
Yeah, that's the next thing is actually I'm lucky to actually have my brother-in-law help me, so it's family. Yep. And so within my family, he's married to my sister, so then my sister's now helping, and then we get my dad. So it's a family operation kind of thing. But he's got background in accounting. He's got a lot of the credentials that are needed. So I got real lucky to have that person that has all the background. And it took me a while to actually get him trained and all the discs and all the different things, terminology, disc hyzering, and so I can deal with customer service if someone's like, "Oh, you sent me the wrong disc," or something, because it happens. They're helping, and I'm not overseeing every order they're shipping out or whatever. So it's like, they may send them the wrong disc, and they'll hit me up and be like, "Oh, well, help, what's this or that?" But now, 2-3 years in, they're pretty much, he plays once in a while, but he might play 5-10 times a year, but he knows the discs, he knows the terminology, he knows what people are looking for, and if he sends them 1 gram off, that's a customer service error. You have to make sure that you send people the color and everything. Like at first, you'd be like, just sending stuff out, and I'm like, no, you have to, you don't understand. These people want the color. They want if there's a speckle of misprint, you have to clarify that. And so just all that stuff is just like training him. It's so relieving now that he understands that, and then now he's able to translate that stuff to my sister, so she can do that stuff while he does the emailing for, all the, the emails that need to be done to get all the, discs ordered. And like you said, the invoices for me, paying them for the discs and vice versa, they're paying me. So just all the transactions and, even the business side, he has, tracking all that stuff and tax stuff. I mean, taxes is another thing. He does that. I haven't even done taxes. He's basically just done it all. He works with Paul Dory's. He's my tax guy. I'll give him some credit. He's a disc golfer. And he's been doing my taxes for a couple of years now, and I don't, I talk to him if I need to, but I haven't really talked to him at all this year. And so yeah, that's just that was the growing pains to start, is trying to just train him in all this disc golf stuff. But he's smart enough to where he gets it now, and he's able to talk to him and talk to people and know exactly what they're looking for.
Do you remember when you were a disc golfer and not a company?
Yeah. Right?
Isn't it crazy how your success just leads to more work? I mean, it's great to have, but
yeah,
that's why you should just be a failure and an underachiever, Rick. Things are a lot smoother that way, I hear. I mean, if you really want some life lessons, let me give you a few. No, that's awesome. I think what I basically took away from that too is that you think disc golfers are high maintenance, crying, whiny. No, maybe not. No, but you're right. Things, people are particular, and sometimes, customer service can be a challenge. Sometimes people win stuff on our show and expect it to ship within a month. I mean, come on, give me a break. Like, who's got time for that? Patreon supporters, you'll get all your stuff. Awesome, Rick. So I know I asked you as we closed out the tournament, but what's kind of in the next couple of weeks for you? Share it with everyone here.
Yeah, so I'm going to be playing in Russellville this weekend, the A tier. I've got some, Kevin Jones, local pro. We got James Conrad, so we'll have some good competition. So I'm looking forward to be a good battle with some good competition. So I'm looking forward to keeping my focus going and that I created last week and hopefully keeping it going and see how I continue to grow as a player. I mean, like you said, that's it's basically take it a week at a time, but I feel like I'm really hitting my stride and as far as where I want to be mentally and waking up the morning of a tournament with the fire that I had last year. So I think that that's basically the only approach that's been different is my mental game. So I'm going to be playing Russellville, then I'm going to be doing a Wysocki Bomb Challenge in Memphis, Tennessee, and then Wysocki Bomb Challenge in Nashville working my way to Bowling Green. So I'm going to be going to Bowling Green the weekend after Russellville to take a week off and kind of just show my face at the Bowling Green Amateur Tournament. I think we're doing some type of Wysocki Bomb Challenge on Wednesday also. So I'm going to be doing 3 in a row, as I'm not going to be, I'm still be playing disc golf and practicing, but I'm not going to be, playing a tournament on the weekend. So I'll be able to vend on the weekend through the fly marts and the Bowling Green activities all going on. So it's actually a fun tournament. I really like going there. See a lot of my friends. It's kind of close to Ohio, so I see some friends that I grew up playing with, and just kind of mingle with the next generation trying to come up in disc golf, and it's cool to just kind of share my knowledge and interact with everyone.
Awesome. And that was a great plug for the Next Generation Tour in there with your boy Dave Feldberg.
Okay.
Good call. I like that, Rick. I like how you work that in there.
He's getting good at this stuff.
Yeah, you are. So it's no secret you're competitive on and off the course. You also do follow. You're a sports fanatic, and people are asking about the Cleveland Browns, about the Cavs. Do you have any quick recaps across all the other major sports that you want to give us any updates on, or any thoughts?
Yeah,
quick thoughts.
I think the latest news is just the NBA. I like the Rockets are looking amazing. The Rockets are looking great. The Cavs, of course, I'm a Cavs fan, and as you guys know, I'm unfortunately a Clowns fan. We've been putting a lot of work in the offseason, but we all know how that goes. We're the failure of all failures when it comes to hyping up a season, and then we go over. So I'm not going to mention them until they at least get a win. So.
Wow, you're going to be holding your breath a long time, maybe.
But so the Cavs, they're good. I think they're going to be a contender. I don't think they're going to win the title. They have a great team. I think they have potential to make it to the Eastern Conference Championship. I think that there's a lot of good teams in the East, but even in the West, I think if they do happen to make it to the finals, the Rockets are gonna. I think the Rockets are hitting their stride right now. The Warriors are so injured, hit and miss. With Curry being out, I don't see them being the team they were last year and the year before when they make their runs. They're a great team, don't get me wrong, but I think even if Curry does come back healthy, the Rockets still have a great chance to beat them. So I think the Rockets are going to be the team to watch. I think Harden's going to step up like he has in years past. He's got something to prove. As we all know, he's an all-star player. He's amazing. And so the Rockets are going to be I think they're going to be the champs this year, and if they don't, they're going to be really close. So, but like I said, if I had to pick a team right now, it'd be the Rockets. Cavs, I think they can make the finals, and if they do, I don't think they're going to win.
What about the Bucks? Come on.
I know. I'm just talking. I'm a sports fan. So
I know. We're probably going to be a 7 seed, maybe an 8, depending on what happens over the next game or two. And
are they in the?
Yeah, they'll be in the playoffs, and they're probably not going to get out of the first round. If they might. But we got some really good young talent, but it's young.
Yeah, Giannis is amazing. That guy is.
He's a beast.
Good.
I think he's a freak.
He's a Greek freak.
Gosh,
I'm so on.
He's a different style of player. I mean, he's like I said, he can block shots. He can drive to the hoop, as we all know. He's a power player. I think if he starts hitting a jump shot, I think he can be right up there, after his career's over. If he starts hitting jump shots, I mean, that's really his only weak point right now. Is he's not the greatest shooter, so people are, giving him some space because they know he's going to drive. But even then, he's still so big; it's hard to guard him.
So I know almost nothing about basketball, but
that's why you. Okay, I got it.
I do know there's a conversation about the idea of that LeBron guy. Is he going to stay in Cleveland is really the only question that I think I can appropriately ask. Is he going to stay in Cleveland next year? Or what?
I think it's all a bunch of publicity. He's always had a house in Cleveland. He's from Cleveland. He's getting older. I mean, he's probably only got another handful of years left in the league. So I think he really wants to stay in Cleveland. I know there's a lot of markets out there like LA, is really talking about it. So I don't know. I think Cleveland might step up and give him another big offer. Obviously, we'll see how it turns out. But I think, like I said, as you know, sports and everything, UFC is a perfect example with Conor McGregor and the whole publicity thing with him. I mean, I think that could be a method that the NBA is trying to go with LeBron, just trying to create stories and hype. But like I said, as a player in his career, he's had most of his success in Cleveland. He's from there. He's just brought so much, so much to the city that excitement to Cleveland that they didn't really have before him, And so I think that all that being said, I think he will stay. I hope he does. I want him to. But I think for all those reasons, he will in the long run. We'll see.
Okay. All right. I see these snippets. Is it the Herd? Is that the gentleman? I see
so
the
many
snippets,
garbage guys out there
that put out stuff, and occasionally I get sucked in for a minute or two. I feel like he gets me up to speed. That's why I can ask such intelligent questions to people like yourself.
Right.
Anything else you want to share with us tonight here, Ricky? I mean, I saw you at BW3s. You ducked out.
Yeah.
You didn't stick around for the UFC. What? You just supporting the sponsor this weekend over there in Jonesboro?
Yeah, I had a buddy that actually worked there, and I didn't even know they were doing, like, they had a big sign for disc golf, and they had a lot of disc golfers in there. Managers, I think, were disc golfers. They were sponsoring tournaments, and so it seemed like they had a big affiliation with the tournament. So it was cool to kind of go over there, and unfortunately, Conor McGregor got a couple fights canceled, so that wasn't cool. But like I said, I don't know if that was all what it seemed to be. Who knows? I know they asked Joe Rogan about, because I don't know if you guys heard about that, but he basically started going crazy insane and started throwing like chairs, going
at
like
bus.
At a bus, and
he injured some of the fighters to the point where they couldn't fight, like a couple days before the scheduled fight. And so, like I said, who knows what actually happened and if it was a publicity stunt. But so I didn't actually stick around for all the fights. I think, but I watched a couple of them, and we just hung out at B-Dubs and kind of ate some food, and it's a cool atmosphere. I like sports, and I like chicken wings, so it's a good combo.
You're set.
Yeah.
In fact, I've gotten a tweet or Instagram all lined up because I went there as well, supported them, hung out.
Yeah.
It wasn't really for the fights. It was really just as a good workspace for me to actually go do some work. But it was pretty crazy in there with the fights going on, and obviously I saw you right when I walked in. So anything you want to share with us? I kind of just cut you off after I asked that question, but anything you want to share before we let you go tonight?
No, I mean, I definitely, as far as the tournament this week, everyone, of course, everyone likes the Jomez coverage. I'm always supporting them. They're great. They do great coverage. They did a new thing this week, or I think they did it this last week for the tournament. They were doing like an in the bag with all the top players that were in the lead group to kind of showcase their discs. I thought that was pretty cool of them to do that, add a new feature for the viewers to kind of see what all the players are throwing. I know they do it on the holes to kind of do an overview of the hole. And so now that's kind of translating to the discs. If they're doing an overview of the hole, they know where the hole shapes, and now they know what each player's throwing on the hole, so they can kind of gauge, how far the hole is, and and now they know what disc we're throwing. So I think that they're doing a lot as far as that stuff. And I think of course, the players were the ones that are in the video, so we see that what they're doing. And I'm sure the viewers do too. They're going to appreciate the new feature, and hopefully, just look for that. And so, all sponsors aside, I think that's just cool for the viewers to kind of gauge, if it, what kind of, shots we're throwing with putters, mid-ranges, drivers. And so I think that's pretty cool thing. It's not really, not biased for any company, which is cool. It's just, it's strictly for the viewer. And so I think that's really neat. Of course, I got to, send a shout out to Latitude. They're always good. They're cool. And then I was thanking Hum Kombucha. I know they're coming out to GBO. If you guys want to check out Hum Kombucha, they're a new drink, healthy, and really fitting for a lot of disc golf lifestyles. They're good drink, tastes good, good flavors, a lot of good health benefits. So they're going to be doing I believe they're going to be doing free samples. So they're going to they're giving you a chance to check it out and try the product. And like I said, I think they're planning on going big into disc golf. So let's try and support them, the companies that support us.
I totally agree. I think that's awesome. So, all right, Ricky. Well,
No, it's the Pro Tour. Steve Dodge, everyone thanks him, but I mean he's just doing so much stuff and showcasing, giving us the chance to showcase in front of all the players. And I know I was talking to you on the live interview after the event, and what you guys are doing to try and bring the live coverage up and the viewerships and the behind the scenes, the live the broadcast from San Francisco. I think everyone seemed to like that. I didn't really get a chance to see it yet, but I'm gonna hopefully. I don't even know if you guys have it available for after the tournament.
The internet, the internet stores it.
Yes,
for
it's
us.
on the Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube page.
Cool. Well then, you guys are great. So it's awesome to be able to have you guys there and showcasing everything. So it's everything's. I feel like disc golf's in a great spot right now. There's so many things going on, and it's really exciting to be a part of it and be able to win the tournaments and kind of be the front face for it. And it's a great feeling.
It should be. You're doing awesome things, and a team of support and a big family to assist, and everyone else and beyond. And you know, one thing that constantly is that I see and read, people always say, you know, oh, I ran into Ricky, you know, before a tournament or after a round or during practice, and he's always approachable. He's always willing to sign discs and take pictures, and you know, that down to earth outlook and view that you have translates to all these other people. And I think that's one of, you know, besides your amazing golf skills, I think that's one of your greatest qualities, is that so many people love seeing you and interacting with you, and the approachability that you have, and just keep doing champion things for us. And I think disc golf's going to benefit from it. So we appreciate it.
Thank you for the kind words, man. Yeah, I'm working on it, you know, and it's just kind of my personality, you know, shining through. You know, I've always been genuine, and you know, it's not going to change anything. You know, I've always, you know, been, you know, loved the sport. I always will. So I like to share the passion with people and share my knowledge. And you know, I always, you know, I appreciate people that can come up and, you know, have a quick word with them and say thanks for support. And, you know, I've been in their shoes before too. So there's always someone to relate with and something to talk about. So it's, you know, we all share the passion. So it's cool to talk to new people and see new people all over.
All right, you got it, buddy. Well, thank you again for the short notice interview, but as always, we love having you. Thank you for you know, sharing, you know, this weekend and some of your plans moving forward. And I have a feeling I'll be talking to you more. You can't get too far away from me.
I'm sure we'll see you at GBO.
We're looking forward to it, buddy.
See you, Smashies. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, man. Have a good night. See ya.
Thanks, Ricky.
Good night. Yeah, I get you're old. Oh, hi, blah.
No one heard any of this. So they just now people just think you're making funny noises. Ricky, when we transition away from one of the shots, we can still hear the guests sitting in like the green room, but you guys no longer hear them.
So I just make stuff up and babble words, kind of. All right.
I was gonna say, one of the things we can take a quick palate cleanser here, break it up a little bit. We have a Disc Golf Nerd disc review. He is reviewing the Innova AVR X3. So why don't we take a minute or two and take a listen to that while you and I catch our breath.
All right. And while you do that, Ryan Pilcher, thanks for the super chat.
Thank you, Ryan.
What's up, Smashies? This month we're taking a look at the brand new Star AVR X3 by Innova. Big thank you to the Disc Golf Depot for sponsoring this review. I appreciate their support. So this is a flat-topped, overstable putt and approach disc. It's small diameter. I feel like this type of disc has been missing from the Innova lineup, and I really think this AVR X3 is going to be a very popular mold with those Innova throwers. Very reminiscent of something like a Zone or a Harp, all of which are supremely functional discs that just about everybody can get use out of in your bag. In flight, this thing is very overstable. I like that it's in the Star plastic. I think that's a good choice. I think it'll hold up well over time and maintain that good stability even with a lot of use. The Star plastic is great, good grip, good flexibility, and I think it will hold on to that overstable flight path for longer. Throw it on hyzer, it stays on hyzer. You can throw it flat. It will always fade to some degree. Not something I would throw for an N-hyzer shot unless you're looking for it to flex out. It's definitely an overstable disc. Definitely low glide as well, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Definitely beneficial in terms of not going too far past the basket on approach. This disc could also be a really effective headwind putter. I really like the Caltrup. That's what I use in this kind of role, and it's just fantastic for those headwind putts where you need something to stay straight and flat into the basket, even into a stiff wind. The AVR X3 works well for that for sure. I don't think a lot of people are going to use these inside the circle for putting, but you definitely could. They're just very low glide, very overstable, and you're going to have to be very forceful in order to make them work effectively. Ultimately, this is an approach disc. This is something you can throw forehand, backhand, very stable to overstable, very consistent in its flight path, and you know you can aim it out to the right, give it a strong pull. It's not going to flip, and it's not going to blow past the basket. That's my review of the AVR X3. Big thank you to everybody for listening. Big thank you to Smashbox for having me be a part of the show. If you'd like to find more of my content, just search for Disc Golf Nerd on YouTube or Google. Also, check me out on Instagram, Disc Golf Nerd 1, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Cheers.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks, Disc Golf Nerd. We really appreciate the reviews that you do for us. Like I said, he's a valuable part. I think this is the first time we actually saw, for the video viewers, someone actually throwing the disc. I don't recall if we've seen that before. He's usually just showing you the disc and kind of giving you a breakdown. So he's expanding. He's
leveling up. That's
right.
what we do here at SmashBox. Right?
Yes, I'm sure those are usually in his normal reviews, but we usually get the condensed version. So thanks a lot, DGN. As always, much appreciated.
Very much so. A couple quick things I'd like to talk about. This weekend, I'm hosting the Skyline Classic, powered by Innova Champion Disc. So thank you to Innova. Little tease for the player packs. I think we might see the new rat make it out. The rat's out of the bag.
Oh, God, no, please don't.
Anyway, well, and speaking of bags, Upper Park, hello. Looks like I'm going to be doing some action with Upper Park. So this weekend, it's a trophy-only, huge player pack. I want to say the player pack's worth $119 retail value. So everyone's going to get a massive player pack, and looking forward to also having a large-scale event taking place over at the Silver Fox course. So if you're in northern Illinois or southeastern Wisconsin, you're probably familiar with the properties, but it's Gray Fox and Silver Fox, two different courses about 3 miles away from one another, and I'm looking forward to running that event this weekend. So still available to sign up. Some people are withdrawing. All of a sudden, everybody's grandma is sick, or there's 100 other excuses. And finally, by like the 5th request for a possible withdrawal, I went and looked at the weather, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's 60 the next 2 days, and then 39 and rain chances on Saturday. That's why everyone's grandma's now sick. So, and I've said it before, I'm incredibly generous or liberal with my refund or cancellations, in that if you let me know usually by Friday night, I offer you a full refund. I don't know why I do that, but it's not per PDGA standards.
Unlike what the internet says about you, you're a nice guy.
I try to.
It looks like there's a 50 to 60% chance of rain. So
100% chance of somebody telling me, well, I actually had a function going on. Yeah, right.
Just be like me and wait to sign up
yes,
until you can
those
find
are
out
my
what the
favorite
weather
people.
is.
I've said it a dozen times. I would still much rather
have someone sign up and then refund as opposed to
trying to sign up.
Plus, when more people sign up, that other
encourages
others because you'll see bigger fields and you'll think, oh, I'm going to get a big payout. And then everyone withdraws and you're the only one there.
I will say, again, Innova supporting and sponsoring the Wisconsin Tour and sponsoring my specific event. This is a pretty massive players pack. I may be left with a few extra when it's all said and done, and I might make some of those available as support mechanisms for some of the things that I'm working on in terms of the video, and video action. So anyway, throwing that out there. Next week, player packs might be on sale.
Coolio.
For $1,000 each. And then you get credits in all video. Speaking of videos, if you are late to the show, I understand. It's because you were probably watching round 1, full edited coverage of the FPO division from this weekend in Jonesboro. So it's out there. It's released. It's on both the Disc Golf Guys channel and the Pro Tour channel. We both have different subscriber bases, similar and overlapping, but yet somewhat different as well, probably. So it's on both of those channels. If you'd like, watch it on my channel, then go watch it on the Pro Tour channel. If you want to say something nice, just do it on my channel. No, it doesn't matter. So they're out there. I want to thank Ladies of the Chains again, their podcast. Go check them out, ladiesofthechains.com. They did the first round commentary, and probably as we speak, they're doing second round commentary as of right now as well. So I want to thank them. They graciously take the 2 sets of 9s that I provide them. They download them. They put audio tracks over it, do the commentating over it. There's anywhere from 2 to 3 women that are usually involved. They commentate, and then they send me back a single audio or 2 audio files for the front and the back. I can drop those on top and then re-render it all out and get it posted. It's a laborious, is that my big Scrabble word for the day? Laborious operation, but they do such a great job. They're so good at it. The audio file is amazing, and I just hats off again to them. They're awesome. So release today, a release of round 2 tomorrow, and then if all goes according to plan, the final and third round release will be on Thursday. That's the plan for the whole year. Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday for the women's FPO edited footage.
Awesome.
It's out there. Check it.
PDGA news. We'll get into that a little bit. New marketing manager, Mary Sicard, Sicard. Not a disc golfer, which I didn't realize at all. I love it. I think it is good to look outside of our comfort zone. And she says on this thing is she wants to find out more of what the core disc golfers want in the marketing manager. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, but go ahead.
That is just such
marketing talk.
What I didn't read the article. I wish I would have. But she wants to find out what the core disc golf. And here's my only that statement just strikes me as a guy who's now been around disc golf for 25 plus years. If there's one thing I've learned is that we are absolutely not. We cannot find a consensus of priorities.
And here's a little bit more in depth is what she says. She wants to make the membership experience more important.
Okay.
She wants to feature the membership experience. So I'm wondering if they're looking at the numbers and they're seeing maybe membership drop off. I know we're gaining more members, but maybe retention. And I'm hoping that's the case. She says she's always loved organized sports. She was an Army brat. She comes from more of a tennis background. So it's even as a nonprofit, she says you must adopt the for-profit brand building. So
certainly,
yep. She says she's already very impressed with the depth and breadth of. We are already impressed with the depth and breadth of Mary's marketing experience, and I cannot wait to see how she applies it for the PDGA and disc golf as a whole. Says Mr. Chargaloff.
Awesome. Well, very cool.
I'm excited. Go ahead to the PDGA and you can read that. It's right under their news section. You can read all about the marketing manager.
Okay, well that's great, and I know someone just said something about on the board about women or the FPO. It will be great to see how maybe she approaches or addresses or attacks some of the perceived and real challenges that we have within the FPO division. In just generating, and I don't want to say the FPO. I'm saying I should have worded that better and said all women's disc golf, getting more participation from a marketing perspective. I'll be interested to see how she brings her experience, what she brings to the table to possibly, make disc golf as a sport and the PDGA more appealing to women. I'm really excited. So her being a woman. It's going to be great to have that perspective. And speaking of which, I'm going to plug our besties, our Thursday night pals over at News and Brews, Suds and Duds, or whatever other names that we jokingly give them. Murder Mike had reached out to me. Michael Castillo had reached out to me prior to me getting here and saying we want to further discuss some topics in the women's disc golf arena. And they asked if I would potentially join them on Thursday night. So I said if I'm available. I've joined them a couple times on their show, and I know those guys, and we always give each other a hard time back and forth, just like we do with the Answer Men. The
Answer Men are doing live YouTube now.
Oh, that's cute.
I know.
So anyway, you may or may not see or hear some of my insights. So if you want to be offended. I think I have to swear and get drunk to be on their show, but
it helps. It helps
it sounds like a good idea, actually.
I'll say this: it helps me to get drunk before I listen.
Hey,
I'm just
anyway. I
don't want to offend a guy named Murder Mike.
I call him man. He goes by Murder Mike. I call him Manslaughter Michael.
Yep.
I just like to tone it down a little for him. I don't think he's that tough. Yep. My question, though, real quickly, backtracking to you just mentioned the Disc Golf Answer Man.
Yes, Disc Golf Answer Man.
What are they doing live on YouTube?
They're basically they're copying us.
Oh, go figure.
No, Bobby was very excited.
We were the first podcast on YouTube
ever.
Yes.
Bobby was all excited because now he can restream to different places. So he was on Facebook.
You can do what?
Twitch and YouTube.
I got to drink my water so I can spit it out.
Don't spit out my basement, please. I want to clean that up. So he's doing that. They have a cameraman though.
Well,
Danny,
must be nice.
They move back and forth.
Danny belongs behind a camera. I'll say that.
Wow, shots fired.
No, I'm kidding. Danny stayed with us in Arkansas for one night.
I know.
Good time hanging out.
So anyway, they're upgrading their podcast and they're doing live stuff on YouTube now. So go ahead and check them out. They do it usually early on Tuesday. I went on there and I gave my $1 super chat. I said I've never super chatted before. They're my first.
It better not be out of the Smashbox account because I did not approve of
it. It wasn't. In fact, I logged into my own personal account because I was afraid it would associate my personal credit card with the Smashbox account. I thought this through. I'm like, oh no, someone's going to try to like make a joking like $50 at one point. We're going to forget it's my card associated with it. And so, no, I made sure to log into my own personal account.
Oh, they have to move the camera around.
Yeah. Well,
rooks.
I know. That's because they don't have a... There's easier ways to do it. But we want to keep Danny employed.
We can't give them all our secrets.
We want to keep Danny employed. So
awesome. Well, very cool. That's great to see. Well, I guess we got a few things for the after show. We can wrap things up. There was maybe a little more behind the scenes talk, or at least a suggested talking point relating the Pro Tour and viewership this weekend. I think that sounds like a good after show conversation, or at least something to babble about. So, excuse me, that's just one idea that I have. So, I think we've had a great show. It was great that Rick could come in and
so much
help boot Dana out, as much as we like Dynamite.
Absolutely,
it was great to do so. I'm glad that we could do that. And again, thank you so much to Ricky for the last moment. I literally mid conversation just hit him up and he said, sure, I'd love to. So, and I did talk to Madison a little bit more. She also said that she would love to join us. It's just going to be a matter of when she's in a position to be able to do so. Oh, then I said something cocky, and then she said, say it to my face, Tear Bear. I might be in trouble now. We'll see. All right, we're going to close it out. It's been great. This has been podcast number 190, I think you told me.
It is.
That's silly. 190. 200 is, well, just 10 away, but that's not far off right now. We're looking forward to seeing many of you at GBO. Of course, the next time that will be live for the full round of golf production. Looking forward to that in just a few weeks. Should be good. So we'll see you guys in the after show. It's Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's podcast again 190. Thank you to Dana. Thank you to Ricky Wysocki. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV After Show. Podcast number 190 and then some. Thank you for joining us. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V. And, wow, just got done. Wrapped up a full, almost exactly to the minute, 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Where we talked a little bit with Dana Vici, recapping the Jonesboro Open, and then we were graced by Ricky Wysocki, last minute pull in there to have Mr. Momentum join us. It's great to have him. So
he's getting so much better in front of a camera and for interviews. I mean, and he's not. I don't think I'm offending him when I say that he was not the best public speaker when he first jumped onto the scene and started winning. he would stutter quite a bit and kind of repeat a lot of what he said. And now he's much more concise, and he's really getting comfortable in this role, and it's fun to see. It's fun to see his
growth.
His growth. Yeah.
Internally, we love it. Thank you guys for joining us. This is, of course, the SmashBoxxTV after show, where anything and everything goes, and there's no guarantees that disc golf will or will not be talked about. So it's not necessarily for everyone. Heck, our regular show where disc golf is talked about isn't for everyone. So we make no additional promises here in the after show. We also take a larger, interest is the word, but we take a little in our chat into account much more. So if you wonder where I'm reading things randomly or maybe regurgitating some questions, they're coming from the live YouTube chat. So if you ever want to have a active part of the show, that's the best place to go about it, is follow along there. We're here. It's, like I said, it's Tuesday night, just a little after 11 o'clock Central. One of the conversation pieces that came up, and again, maybe spoiling a little, maybe or maybe not spoiling some of Steve Dodge's conversation that I think you may hear in his Pro Tour talk that he's doing on Wednesday nights. There was a conversation that we had about average viewership minutes. And I don't know where Steve gets this number, in that at one point he said, I'd like to see it get to an average viewership time of about 40 minutes. And it sounds like at least during the first day, that number was hit, according to the YouTubes. And there's ways to manipulate, as we know, numbers. We can make numbers say anything we want. But according to the YouTube analytics on the back end, you can see that an average viewer time hit of approximately 40 minutes. And I guess what I'm wondering is, there's a lot of things that can attribute to that. We've been slowly growing that number throughout our broadcast. Our broadcasts are actually getting shorter, but yet our average watch time is getting a little bit longer. There's one theory that potentially,
nobody knows. Nobody knows why the viewership this particular weekend was up.
Correct.
Was it because, I'm sure there's a lot of different factors in it. Partially, maybe people were interested to see how the show would be different with a booth.
Certainly.
There was cruddy weather throughout the country. Cold, rainy.
Even where we were.
Yeah, everywhere. It was
it was not pleasant out in a substantial part of the country.
And the Masters. So people were excited. If you're a disc golf fan, and you're watching disc golf, there's probably a good chance you're going to sit and watch the Masters as well. We see that a lot. There's probably some overlap there.
I think a lot of people talk about, at least I know I would fall into this category if I wasn't busy. I may not be the biggest football fan, just like I may not be the biggest golf fan. But when certain large-scale events are on, you might be a little bit more interested to tune in and possibly peek your head in, or and say, oh, what's this all about? And if there's one golf event all year long that is hyped, I think, bigger than any other golf event, it's the Masters. So you're more inclined to have that on a screen. And as we saw so many of you guys, and we really do appreciate it, we love it, the people that post to Instagram and Facebook and say, yep, taking in some golf this weekend, and they may post a picture of a tablet with the Masters on, and their computer screen or something else with SmashBoxx on and the Pro Tour coverage. We love that. And I think that had probably the largest factor.
Okay.
People were okay with hunkering down and watching screens this weekend for, again, maybe the weather assisted in that, but they were okay with that. They were consuming golf, and it was going on in two levels. I think that certainly was the largest, personally, I think that was the largest contributor to the slightly longer minutes watched. Yeah, that's just a theory.
I think that makes a lot of sense. People were, and the real funny part is, this whole booth thing that we did. My plan when the concept originally came up was not to do it. My plan was to start it out at GBO. because I'm going to be on site there. And I thought it would be, we'll do it easier. We'll start on site and then we'll work up and we'll maybe try an off-site booth later in the year. Steve was kind of like, no, let's do it right away in the third event of the year. And I was kind of like, ugh, geez. Because Jonesboro last year was such a small attended event and it had some of the lowest viewer numbers because it's kind of an unknown event.
It was a B tier and it was an unknown event and it fell on Easter weekend.
Correct. So there was a lot of reasons why last year it was so, we'll say poorly compared to this year, watched. Well, this year was different because we had the Masters this weekend and there was a lot more viewers and obviously the weather, things like that. So it turned out to be a bigger number. In hindsight, knowing that the number was going to be this much bigger, I might have tried to talk myself out of doing the booth and waited for something later. But I'm glad we did it. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. It was a good first step. We've gone through all that. So and overall, I'm excited to see the numbers of the watch time go up. I'll be curious to see what we see throughout the rest of the year. If there's a nice gradual incline, if this is a spike, if what we're getting to.
Well, and I would follow it up even a step further and ask, and I haven't looked and I don't know any of the numbers, but I'd be curious to know how the second and third rounds were. Is there a chance that our live viewership, is it factored in that some people realize that the post-production coverage will not, there won't be post-production coverage of that particular round.
Of the first round.
Of the first round. So people may get in tune with that and say, hey, during this first round, we're going to get Jomez from the noon card or the 10 a.m. card. We'll get that the next day, but we can consume even more golf if we, also take in this live round. And then you can factor in yet one more big thing, in my opinion, is that we may have had a larger European contingency having Seppo on the card. Seppo,
oh, for certain, because
one of the best players in the world and happens to be from not in the U.S.
I was kind of shocked, and I can actually go and take a look. Watching that first day of the Pro Tour, I'm doing all the work here, and I'm looking over, and I'm seeing tons of foreign language, and all I'm thinking at the time is like, what? Like, what's going on?
They probably don't like you, whatever they were saying.
And like, I obviously I couldn't read anything, and I'm like, what's the deal? And I didn't even know. And I turned to Gary. I said, we've got a huge, like, there's a lot of foreign language speakers. And Gary looks at me and goes like, yeah, Seppo. And I was like, oh yeah, Seppo's on the card. It only made sense. I'll be curious to see what the first day versus second day of overseas viewers versus not is.
See, I think that's why we just clickbait and in every single round list like, oh, these top 12 players are all on the card.
Simon, Seppo, Page, Wysocki, Macbeth.
Yep, just clickbait no matter what, no matter who's on there. So anyway, those were, a little behind the scenes, some thoughts. Of course, we're hoping, we'd love to just boldly say, well, clearly more people are watching for longer because we're putting out a better show. Of course, we ultimately want that to be the goal, but I think there are a number of factors as to how we are growing and increasing, and hopefully things just continue to get better all the way across the board. So, there's a lot of different ways it can be looked at. And Daniel says, the booth commentary is better because you don't hear Terry catching his breath. That is certainly, again, one of the advantages. And I do want to clarify, when I was in Florida at one point, we walked up one of the mountains in Florida, and Paul Macbeth was out of breath. And I'm like, you know what? Even skinny in shape people get out of breath walking some of these courses. But anyway, that's a side note. That's yet another huge advantage to the booth. There are so many advantages and a handful of disadvantages to having a booth setup. Not worrying about whispering, not worrying about interrupting the players or possibly conflicting with the players in any capacity. Not worrying about, I was going to just say how loud you are or anything of that nature. Holding up the players, like there's so many things that can be advantageous to the booth, and there's also some drawbacks. And all we can do is, continue to weigh the pros and the cons. In some ways, we can adjust and fix certain audio challenges, but that doesn't mean we can't have offsite audio challenges either. You're bringing a whole nother system in with a couple of, another camera plus a couple of other microphones and a couple of other operators. They're just in another part of the country. So as much as that can go really well, that can also have its drawbacks as well. I mean, just as one example, if there was an internet challenge, say where our off-booth commentary was, well, then we lose it all. So those are all things that, have to be considered when we're looking at it. So anyway, here in Wisconsin, we had an event going on, and there was a conversation, and I don't know if he's still around. I know we talked to him about possibly being around to join us tonight. A tournament director, I'm going to reach out to him right now, who had talked originally about, we'll say, some challenges. There ultimately was a playoff that needed to take place, and then it sounds like there was a little miscommunication, and then it sounded like some chaos ensued, and we were just trying to get not only the story, and I don't know if the story is as much the point as the lessons that could be learned from a tournament director and from players. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if he's still around or not. If he is, we may be able to welcome him to the show so we can get the whole story. But if not, maybe that's something that we can have for a future podcast. Because I'd really like to describe what went down, how it went down. And again, it's not to really, nail anyone to the wall or begrudge or go after any one particular person. It's really more about, I think, the lesson that can be learned for it. So we'll see. And Seth from the Disc Golf Pro Tour is on the board and is telling us that, if I'm reading correctly, he says, I'm guessing this is average viewer time in minutes, 39 minutes, 45 seconds on Friday's broadcast, 44 minutes, 55 seconds, we'll just round that to 45 minutes on Saturday, and on Sunday, 37 minutes and 13 seconds. So that's kind of interesting because when the most drama was possible for the event, as in the winners being crowned, we technically had the least amount of time for average viewer minutes. So I thought that's pretty interesting, Seth. Well, Seth, do you got I'd love for you to chime in there and give us your hot take on that.
Well, my guess is that the first day, everyone tuned in like normal. Word spread that you weren't on the call. Day 2 jumped up. Everyone's
like, hey, let's check this out.
Then they realize it's Corey and Sean, and then they just don't show up on Sunday.
Ouch. Jerk.
I am so mean.
You jerk. Interesting. Wow. 45 minutes, though. That's pretty awesome. Dad's Drunk says, I'm going to start a SmashBoxx traveling disc. PM me on Facebook if you want in. Okay. I'd love to hear what your details are. Maybe I could share some of those for you, Dad's Drunk. Seth says, the moment people knew Ricky had won, people started dropping like flies.
I mean, I'll say you probably saw the biggest increase in viewership up until on that particular day, up until probably about hole 13 to 14. Because at that point, you knew Oakley, who I think took a par and then a bogey and put himself a couple strokes out of touching, being able to catch Ricky. At that point, you kind of knew Ricky's not giving up 3 or 5 strokes in the last 5 holes. Although it's possible, it's not likely. And so then at that point, then attentions start to fade.
They just kind of assume, oh, Rick's got this locked up, which not a bad assumption.
Not a bad bet to take.
Mike says it was beautiful weather in Virginia on Sunday. I was out playing disc golf. And Texas State DG says weather was better on Sunday. People wanted to play. So that's certainly a possibility as well. Seth said that once he saw a ton of people drop off, particularly around hole 15, kind of for the reason you just said, probably. Larry says, I like the booth, but more deserving people could have been there. Not that they didn't do a great job, but there's a reason. Just saying. I mean, yeah, and it finding and by no means am I throwing any shade or slight. I'm just saying finding the right people for that job, that's a tall task. And it was gracious that they were able to come in and do what they did. It's a really, as we talked about earlier, you can't have top level pros because they're probably playing in the actual event. Finding exactly who those people are going to be with the technical aptitude, the depth of disc golf, and all of the, it's a very small subset of people that could fill that role. So we were very blessed to have those guys step in there and do that. Macbeth's finished worst finish in 3 years. I think I kind of called him out on that earlier. Picks for GBO. I think we'll probably talk about that more. We're going to have a lot of conversation about GBO as we'll be on site, as Johnny had mentioned. So you'll hear more about that as we get a little bit closer. We won't quite beat that to death yet. Team Hull, I think, said something about the booth did a really good job. I agree. Johnny Football solid. Yep. Could have rotated in and out another booth guy, potentially. That means somebody else would have had to been there and available in San Francisco to make something happen. Plus, weren't they busy, like getting lunch delivered to them? So we have multiple cameramen and people out there. With our cameraman Chad at one point had 11 heat pockets, heat packs attached to his body, 11 of them, as he was out there scurrying around the course in 25-degree weather in 20-mile-per-hour winds. And good to know that our booth guys were getting
there was
lunch delivered.
One instance where
1 out of 3 days.
Sean Jack, which is where the studio, it was his apartment. He has phenomenal internet there. And his buzzer went off. And I don't know if it was lunch or if it was Amazon. It was just a delivery of some sort that so you could hear in the background the buzzer go off.
Yeah.
So which I chuckled because he had said, he's like, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just the way it's going to be. And there's nothing. So someone asked, who is Sean Jack? He is the TD of the San Francisco Open. And he is also an integral part of the Pro Tour. A lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Yes, I think sponsorship relations of some sort, something like that. I'm almost too lazy, but I'm only about 2 clicks away from his official title. But Sean Jack is a part of the Pro Tour on the back end, which also made him a logical fit for being on it. If I go to the staff page, dgpt.com/staff, he is listed as VP of Partnerships. So that's his official title. And he's very familiar with disc golf. Is there a Terry breathing only channel? We should set one up.
Like an ASMR thing? Are you familiar with ASMR?
I've heard it once.
It's more or less.
Oh yeah.
It's very quiet, breathy sounds. A lot of people find it very relaxing. There's a whole genre on YouTube if you want to go out there. People whispering and just breathing into mics.
I'd be so good at that.
Like it's very, very breathy, and I don't want to say erotic because it's not that. It could be anything. It could be them talking.
It could be erotic.
It could be. It could be them talking about the premiere episode of Gilmore Girls. And it's just literally
hot.
Literally anything, and it's a whole subgenre of YouTube.
This. I think I need this in my life.
You should listen to
it. So that's a great idea. Let me ask this. This is an honest question. Do you hear me breathing a lot, catching my breath?
I don't think so, but
go ahead and answer that because I've got a follow-up right away.
As I say, I don't always listen to the content of what people are saying. I've become very good at listening for certain cues towards the end of holes. But, I mean, there are times when if you're hiking up a hill, sure, we might hear you speaking. I don't hear your breath, but you can tell in your voice a little bit more.
Sure.
Makes sense. But ultimately, I don't see I don't think it's that bad.
Okay,
personally.
And it's fine. Some people are saying yes. I of course I believe that you hear me, or maybe even more accurately, I think Johnny says you may tell in my voice that I've just had to hike or walk or run or get to a certain spot. Let me be very clear. I feel like because we have the wireless mic that we have, which I usually am handling, even if I have a co-host, there have been, and I'm going to throw them all under the bus, not by name, there have been lots of co-hosts, co-commentators that do breathe in the mic, and it's not me. And I think people, of course, some ways it would be impossible to tell. There have been people, And all I think when they're doing it is, please stop doing that. People are going to assume it's me. I'm not kidding. I have had a lot of co-hosts do that. And I'm not saying it's not always me. I am saying that. I'm saying it's not always me. Sometimes it is. I think a lot of times it won't be me, like just flat out breathing, because I'm going to tell you a little secret I learned. If I'm not speaking, I don't keep the mic to my face for that exact reason. There's no reason. I'm trying to pick up ambient sounds. I'm trying to pick up feet walking or putts going in or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to have that microphone anywhere near my face if I am not talking. So anyway, and everyone can argue, and I'm not saying it's never me. It's not me. It clearly probably is me sometimes.
Sure.
But it's not always me. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. Well,
what I can't wait is for when I'm in a booth, and then I'll just
breathe into
the mic.
Let me just talk about it.
That'll get you guys.
And there were some complaints about the booth guys talking too much. I kind of
finding your flow.
Exactly. I chalk it up to first time in the booth, first time doing live commentary where, Corey isn't he's done so much post commentary, but that's so condensed where it's shot by shot by shot by shot. So there's always something to talk about, as opposed to when you're doing live, you can let it breathe a little bit more. You don't have, you can talk about whatever with your partner, and they were and they got made fun of a little bit for this because they did whisper a few times. And I think
funny.
That's just them watching the golf and doing it naturally.
Or sometimes you're
not even thinking about that you're doing it, and you do it because you've probably done it on the course so much. So Amstyle to UB, Amstyle U2B. Thank you very much for your super chat of $10. So
thank you.
He says
appreciate it.
He supports the attempt this week with the booth. It was cool. But everybody wants to hear Terry Doss commentary. So
we'll see about that.
We're hoping GBO we're going to get some Terry McCall commentary. That's the goal. We'll see.
McCall me maybe. Well, we appreciate that. And somebody else had asked something about those guys, or that's the next at the next event. No, it won't be. Our next live event is just in a couple weeks. We'll be at the Glass Blown Open. We likely will attempt a booth again. And if so, you will, like Johnny just mentioned, it'll likely be myself, Robert McCall. We may have other special people.
I got plans.
And guests join us. We've got a couple other things actually up our sleeves that we're not sharing yet. But it may get... It's just, I'll admit, it's kind of funny. We're telling everyone, don't get used to the booth, but we're going to give you 2 of them in a row.
We're going to give you one more.
And we'll see how things go from there. So
but this is a different booth because I will be on site. The booth will be hooked. Some people notice
so when he does dumb shit, I can just reach over and punch him.
I should be out of arm's reach.
I'll get up. I'll breathe heavily.
All people will hear is
I'll carry the mic over with me. I'll breathe heavily into it, and then I'll smack you, and then I'll walk back.
I'll be connected hopefully to the computers and this and that. Some people noticed that there was a little delay in the booth, and
it's because the internets are far away in San Francisco.
Matt from UDisc was like, "There's got to be a way. Can you delay the video more?" And it's like, no, because the way it works is the video delayed comes into my system. I then basically send them what I see, which happens in about a half a second, and then it takes about a half a second for their audio to get back to me, which then is pushed out. So there is about a second delay on there, about a 1 second delay. And some people notice it, some people didn't. I will say this, from what I saw, most of the time it was pretty good. The delay, it wasn't too bad. So fun stuff. But we do have Jeremy was asking about giveaways, and he asked, are we doing a giveaway this week? And it's like, yes, Jeremy, it's Smashbox After Show. We do a Patreon giveaway every week on this show.
I don't think he cares about that.
Well, he said earlier, now he might care about something different. But if you want to be eligible for the weekly giveaway, you can go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV and sign up as a patron, help support the podcast and everything else that we do. It will be well received and well liked, and we'll give you hugs and kisses when we see you, and whether you like it or not. So just if you are a patron, you might want to stay, might not want to tell us in person.
I'm a hugger.
Somebody already called you a little creepy on the internet.
A little. Where have they been? I'm a little creepy on the internet, or
no? They called you creepy, and they were on the internet, which is kind of funny.
Because I'm a lot creepy on the internet.
And I did make a joke today about us going to GBO and renting a vehicle, and I said, "Well, make sure you rent the windowless van for me."
Yes.
So let's do a Patreon giveaway. I need a number between 1 and 5 because that's what people like to see.
Oh, I've got my number.
Well, spit it out.
2. Ricky.
Back to back.
And Paige. So then do you go 4? No, I like 2. Both Ricky and Paige are now 2-time Jonesboro Open champions. So I am 2's the number.
I'm going to go with number 2. Okay, so we have 181 patrons. Thank you very much to all 181 of you. I've been starting to think about the Smashbox disc. I know it's only April, and I don't think we're planning on getting out there till probably June or July-ish, but I have been starting to think about it for all of our $3 and above patrons. So we're going to go with the correct answer is 2. So let's do this so everyone can see. We're at random.org. 181. I'm going to generate 2 different numbers. It'll be the second number. The first number is 164. The second number is 122. So then I scroll to number 122, and I see that the name is Tim Oderkirk.
A new name. I love it.
Tim Oderkirk. Congratulations. You are the SmashBoxxTV Patreon giveaway champion of the world.
Yay!
On this Tuesday.
Yay, Tim.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim's been a patron since April of 2017.
Heck yeah, 1-year anniversary prize.
Almost in about 2 weeks.
Sure, count it. Well, thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. I'm a little behind. I think I said that last week and the 3 weeks before that. I'm a little behind on, but now I'll be able to get caught up soon.
You've got a couple weeks at home now.
Yeah, a couple weeks, exactly. So I think there's a handful of Patreon supporter packages that need to get shipped out. So just know I got to go through my emails, grab them all, and then get them all shipped out. Some have gone already, but some more need to go. I appreciate it. Country Disc Golf says, Terry's giveaway curse still active, damn it. I don't know what my giveaway curse is. That I pick the number and then Johnny hits random generate twice in this case, and then it's not you. Jeremy asks, yes, the Terry Miller basket. I have to do a basket drawing. I'm giving away at least 1 basket a month on my Patreon page as well. You're welcome. You are more than welcome to support both of the Patreon accounts, both Smashbox and the Disc Golf Guy. Of course, mine is more related to all the post-production coverage and other things that I do outside of this clown. So that gives you an opportunity to win a basket. And I'm giving away at least 1 basket a month. And one of these months I'm also giving away 2, which is going to happen in the next few days because I screwed up seemingly one other place. So I'm giving away at least 13 baskets this year, portable baskets, coming from a number of different manufacturers. First one was from MVP. Second one was from Legacy. These next 2, I'll pick 2 different other companies to give baskets away from. Somebody asked, what about those DGPT socks you won, Terry? After the day was over, somebody, I think it was Seth or someone, I was editing or packing up or doing something with my computer, and all of a sudden a set of socks were laid down in front of me. Said, you won some socks. Okay. Wow, what are you talking about? Apparently I was drawn or something.
Yep, the Disc Golf Pro Tour does a Patreon giveaway similar to us for every broadcast.
So I give away baskets and they give away socks. Okay, go on.
They give away a couple of things.
I know,
and you were, because you are a Patreon supporter of the Pro Tour, you apparently won socks. I saw it in the video. I don't have anything to do with that, but I saw it in the video.
Huh. Okay, well, great. Team Howell asked, just curious if you guys ever have SmashBoxxTV shirts or merch. I have a very select few discs that I've accumulated throughout the years that are Smashbox stamped. So I do have some of those if you're interested. I think we have a little bit from the DD world and a little bit from the Innova world. However, we should probably freshen up that inventory sometime. So I do have a few of those, and then I have a few shirts that have been made up throughout the years, and actually a few different styles of shirts, and then a few different really nice microfiber towels, and I think I have some they're not birdie bags. They
Whale
are
sacks?
nope, they're not whale sacks. They're Smashbox branded other rosin type bags. Sport sacks.
Sports sacks.
That are custom Smashbox ones. So I do have a mixture of things. Reach out to me if you're interested. I can tell you what we have, but we don't have like a huge online store or anything like that. Someday. Ryan says, dude, as in the company, no stink socks changed my life. I will say this. They make a guarantee with the socks that Dude has come out with that state, like, I don't know what it states, that you can wear them like up to 12 times and they won't smell or something like that, or 12 weeks or 12 months or something.
Without washing them?
Yeah.
That's gross, but
well, of
cool.
course it is, but there's disc golfers we're talking about, so.
Yeah, they're not my underwear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
you had nowhere to go with that.
I don't want to go anywhere
stopped.
with your underwear. So I agree. I have had those socks on, and those socks are also amazing. And I do want to send a shout out. I'd like to, well, I mentioned earlier BW3s, who's a sponsor, so it was great to patronize them. And you love or hate all of their food and choices. That's great. But they are supporting disc golf. And then also, I, at the last moment, packed along a Dude jacket. They don't sponsor me. They didn't pay me. Nothing. I packed this jacket along, though, at the last moment, and I ended up wearing it every single minute in Jonesboro. It's just an all-around really great, like, raincoat / medium to
really nice
heavyweight
looking
jacket. It's a beautiful jacket. I just don't like the color orange. Otherwise, I'd wear this thing 24/7 everywhere, every weekend. I'm not a fan of the color orange. But the jacket was amazing this weekend. So thank you to Dude. They've supported the Pro Tour. They've supported the World Tour. They've supported disc golf. And I know they're doing lots of good things. And I love their social media presence right now. They have, if you're not following them, they're posting about all of these different events, of which they aren't sponsors of. Mm-hmm. They're doing some big things with social media and being out there. So I really appreciate the effort that Dude is putting out there. So thank you guys.
I'm going to burst Jeremy Stewart's bubble. He asks, JVD, can we get some Smashbox bag tags?
Ooh-wee.
I'm going to take this right here. This one will work. Go. Nope. Sorry. Bag tags are, well, as much fun as they are, they're
well,
I always just think they're a pain to administer, and maybe that's because we did it years and years and years and years and years and
well,
years ago.
I think the premise of bag tags have somewhat changed. And I'll say, I mean, obviously people are buying bag tags and they're sequentially numbered, and you challenge other people for them, and great. And I'm not saying we couldn't do that, but if we were to release or sell or offer any form of a numbered or non-numbered bag tag, it would really be more of almost a support tag, or an idea, a keepsake, support mechanism, rather than an official challenge. Because as Johnny's getting
back in 2001, we stole the idea from Michigan, who had been doing it for a while, and it was not being done almost anywhere in the country.
Correct.
And so we brought it to Wisconsin, had a bunch of tags made up, and then there's all this discussion about prizes and lost tags and
fighting and challenges
who challenges do you, because my rules might be different than your rules. It was kind of like you challenge the person that's in your group, and that was the challenge that took precedent. But then if someone outside your group challenged you, and there was no one in your group with a tag, you had to accept that challenge. And then there was people that were just like, well, how about we just throw all the tags in to a pot and then pull it out? And that was like, well, what's the point of that? Because then you're just rewarding the person who wins. There's no real challenge with another person. I'll say, Terry maybe changed my mind. I'm not saying that we're going to do it, but if there's not much to administrate as far as that goes, I would be much more open to the idea, as opposed to having to worry about prizes at the end of the year, broken tags, and all that fun stuff. But
all right,
I'm
Jeremy,
sure if we got Miles to do them, there would be no broken
tags. I'm on it. All right, I'm on it. It's something I've thought about doing for a long time, actually, is creating something of this nature. And then maybe it gets bundled in with, there's a $25 support package that gets you a tag and a sports sack, and then there's a 30 or a 50. We'll come up with a couple different packages, of which we can include bag tags. I'll get on it. Just don't hold me to any deadline
timetable. So by September or October when
of 2019, you might see one. Just don't hold me to a deadline, but I'm going to get on it. And I say it because I've thought about it quite a bit. It's just I haven't pulled the trigger on it. So
good for you.
Yeah, I'll make it happen. We appreciate that. And yes, we appreciate what you guys are saying. You just really want one to show your support. Yes, I'm on it. Hey, Barney Davis. It's not a name we see post often. So here's a quick shout out or call out. I know sometimes I ask for like ASL. No, I ask for where you guys are at.
This isn't AOL Instant Messenger.
I know.
1999.
But what I really do want to know is how many of you on the board, because it's our next big event and a great chance to see so many of you. How many of you guys on the board, shout out if, or mention here on the board on the YouTube chat, if you're going to be at GBO?
That's a good question.
I'd love to see it. I thought to ask it earlier in the show. I'd love to see how many of you guys will be at GBO. Johnny's seemingly ready.
I'm here.
Oh, wow. You can put emoji things in there? I didn't know that.
Yeah, just hit the... If you're chatting on SmashBox...
Ryan Pilcher, I'm going to read this quickly. Ryan Pilcher says, yes. Eric says, I am. Edward, you don't count, says, I wish. I wish I was a little bit taller. Alexis says, 33, male from Texas. I like it. Jeremy says, I wish. Barney, okay, I'm going to quit reading you if you're not coming. Okay, well, there's some of you are and most of you aren't, but hopefully we see a ton of you. Looking forward to
if you do see us at GBO, please come over, say hi, introduce yourself. I'm horrible with... Terry's much better than I am with names and faces. So if you introduce yourself on like Wednesday, and then you see me again at the block party on Saturday, and I don't remember your name, don't be offended. It's either because I've had a couple other people come up and introduce themselves, or I'm drunk. Which there's a good chance by the block party I might be drunk.
What?
Yeah. So,
no.
Jonathan Ray. Is that J Ray?
Could be J Ray.
He should be there.
Happy belated birthday, J Ray. This is way better than me saying belated birthday by like 3 minutes the other day on your Facebook. You get a SmashBoxxTV live podcast birthday shout out. So happy belated birthday, J Ray. 36 again.
Oh, he wants a Mechanical Bull rematch.
Ooh. That sounds dirty.
Yeah,
we'll see about that.
I won't be at Ledgestone. The GBO will be the only event I'm attending this year on site, and that's only because I can guarantee that this location, we have a place to stay. We've got fantastic internet, phenomenal guests, and hosts that are awesome. So,
Edward says, I would go Tigger and hug you. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm a hugger. Chris won't be there, nor will Tom. Tom, sorry to hear that. Hopefully Pat will want you at South Florida Open since I will be playing this year, Jeremy Stewart says. I'd love to go back to the South Florida Open. I like what you're thinking.
Is that so? Can we call San Francisco the other SFO?
Yeah. I mean I covered the SFO last year.
I know.
You're right.
The Pro Tour is really the other SFO.
Let's call it the
OSFO.
OSFO.
That's a mouthful.
Certainly would be. I was hoping for some retro Pi arcade challenges. Terry,
from whom? I mean, I'll beat anybody at Mario Kart.
I don't know if I understand what you're picking up here. Putting down. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of everything. Somebody asked if I had a customer service rant earlier. I don't think that I do. I've had some pretty good ventures. I would just like to say, no plugs or no compensation for this whatsoever. I've become quite a fan of Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. And I have now, I had to do a little math. I have now visited 4 Cheddar's Scratch Kitchens
on the way to my house
in 4 different states. And they're semi-limited. There's only 2 in all of Wisconsin, one of which I'll be a little bit closer to this weekend when I'm running my tournament. I'm a fan. And So I'd give my shout out to them. Is it kind of an oxymoron? Well, it's not a full oxymoron, but they're a chain of scratch kitchens. I guess it's in some ways there's a little irony almost there. But anyway, love them. I think they're great. If you haven't been, you should go try one at Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. No promotional consideration for that, although I think I signed up for their e-club and I might get free something. Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen.
I don't know. Edward asks how we felt about the coverage at Jonesboro. You can go back. We talked about it in the beginning of the show a little bit with Dana. We talked about it at the beginning of the after show. Overall, positive.
Team Howell, you should get a prize. I just said that. I shouldn't have. You said one in Iowa City. That's the one. That's one of the 4 I've been to.
Are we going to go through Iowa City on the way to GBO?
Nah.
Do we need to find one? I've never been to one.
I'd have to look at the map, but that's specifically, I think, the one that I went to in Iowa. In-N-Out or Culver's? Oh, Culver's all day. Culver's is out of Wisconsin.
Yep, Sauk
and
City.
It tastes way better.
I've never eaten at an In-N-Out.
I might get Dana blasted for this comment, but overrated. They're overrated. Their fries aren't very good. They have the really thin fries.
Yeah. So this is going to get me in trouble. I think Five Guys is overrated.
Oh, see, I love Five Guys. I love it. I only love it like literally once a year because I feel too bad about going there more than once.
Oh, A, it's expensive, and B, I mean it's heavy. Like that is
yeah, that's what I mean.
I've been to two. Yeah, I think I've been to 2 Five Guys in the last 3 years. I went to one at the end of last year down in Kenosha with my son, and it was, yeah.
I limit myself to Five Guys about once a year. I went there once last year with Steve Dodge and the crew after an event, and
the fries were good.
Oh, they're so good.
They're good. Like the burger though, to me, it's like
also good.
It's all right.
Oh, and they put jalapenos on my burgers.
I know. See, we're getting local here, but I'll take like a Sobelman's though. Sobelman's is yummy.
All right. Yes, I love their fries. Five Guys is trash. Wow, Ryan.
Shots fired.
That's fine. Interesting story about Five Guys. And now it's a little dated probably because I saw this, I don't know if it was 5 or 8 years ago. Somebody should do some fact checking because now I'm going to screw up the details. But I know at one point, the main farmer that supplied Five Guys with their potatoes, I believe for their entire chain, was one farmer. I believe it was out of Idaho, potato farmer. It was like a multi-million-dollar deal. It was all done on a handshake and no contract at all. No ongoing contract between this farmer and
That's just dumb on the farmer's part.
And the millions of dollars that were spent. And that could be totally outdated by now, but it was like an MSNBC about chains and TCBYs and Cold Stone creameries and franchises. It was really good, interesting, really, really good. But I found that fact out.
I'm down with Trevor Hook saying that a DQ burger with fries and cheese curd or cheese curds, I don't get fries and cheese curds, is the way to go. I like DQ burgers.
I do too.
And the fries are good too. And I mean, usually I'll get like a medium or a small blizzard to go with that. But it's I mean, I'm with Ricky. Ricky he celebrated by going to Dairy Queen after his win.
He would.
So I'm down with that.
All right, that's almost enough food talk. I'll quickly read through the final comments about food. 2 to 4 times is about right for Five Guys. Yeah, I'd say that's probably on the top. Once a quarter, I think is definitely should be the limit for people. Applebee's is trash, someone said, unless they're sponsoring me or the tournament. I agree. But I do like to go to work at Applebee's because they're always open really late. And I enjoyed doing
we've done that before. Go there, open up laptops, use the Wi-Fi.
And work for 6 hours.
And then, hit like an appetizer or two.
Shake Shack, I had, is that in Vegas and a few other places? Nah, I wasn't impressed. And then there was one other one. I can't scroll up, Johnny, because we're talking food here. Burger King, no. There was up a little further.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, and Portillo's. You got to shout out to Portillo's. Pretty damn good. They have a lot of great food.
Dad's Drunk wants to know if you consider listening to an audiobook the same as reading.
No.
Wow.
I'm good with doing it. I'm not saying someone shouldn't, but don't tell me you read a book. If you listen to the book.
Why?
Because it's not the same.
Why? What's the difference between reading words and
listening to them?
Getting a story and listening to it and getting a story.
I'd have a problem if somebody told me,
no.
Yeah, I read that book.
Yeah.
You're not reading it, for starters. Now, if you say, I consumed that book, I'd be like, okay, sure, you did that.
What's the difference?
But if somebody said, because you're not reading.
I'm here, in this particular instance, I think you can use the term read as consumed. Like, you took in the knowledge that was done by a particular artist, author, whatever you want to say. You consumed it. That's like someone saying, yeah, I saw the Mona Lisa. You saw a picture of it, or you went up and saw it because you were there. You were like this far from it. What's the difference? Like, yes, it's cool to be there and witness it and see it in person and like, wow, look at the detail and stuff. But you can get as much detail from a picture for a lot of things.
It's
a piece of art, and that's what a book is to me. And so the term read is being used as a general verb for consume, intake, gain the knowledge of.
Okay, so on a quick Google search, I typed in, is listening to a book, and I left it there. And Google suggests then cheating, is listening to a book cheating, is listening to a book the same as reading it, is listening to a book as good as reading, and does listening to a book count as reading it? So my question to you is, which one of those should I opt for to click on now? Because I'd like to know, is it cheating? Is it the same as reading? Is it as good as reading? And does it count as reading?
It's different for every person, I think, as far as is it as good as reading? Some people will take in the knowledge better listening to it as opposed to reading it.
I'm going to say, is it the same as reading it?
Here's what I'll say. You will probably, when you read it, you will probably retain the information more often because you are focused on reading as opposed to listening, where you could be distracted because it frees you up to do other things. Because there's no good way to go at this without offending a community. I keep saying, like, your hearing is almost like a second sense. When you're doing it, you can be doing other things. So you can be listening to it,
but yet not maybe giving it the same amount of attention.
Exactly. As opposed to reading, it's hard to read and be paying attention to things. Most people don't read and listen to something like music or things like that. It's just not. But so many people will listen to an audiobook while they are playing a video game or doing other things. So
I'd have to do more research here. There's some great articles.
And that's unique to each person. But some people will take knowledge in better listening to it. Some people will take it in better reading it. So
I agree when someone, like Seti is saying, audiobooks are great when driving and traveling, just like a podcast or a TED Talk, all of those things. I totally agree with that. I'm not saying you shouldn't or you can't. No. I'm just saying I don't see it. I think when you see words, I don't know. I'm sure there's all sorts of data. Thankfully, Audible.com's got some great write-ups on it. I'm sure they're not biased at all. Oh
God, yeah.
But I think when you see and read, I'm just guessing somehow it feels like it seems like it would be more educational.
It's not.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but for now, I'm going to say I don't think it's the same. I feel like you can consume it, of course, and I'm not a naysayer about doing it. I love the idea.
I
just don't feel like it. Like if you said, which one do you give more credit to? If that's a good way to put it. If my daughter came to me, who's 9, for instance, and she said, "Dad, would you like me to read this book or would you like me to listen to this book? I guess inherently, for whatever reasons, right or wrong, I would say I would like you to read that book.
Okay, here's a question. If she comes up and she says, "Hey, Dad, I've got a book, physical book, or I've got it on my Kindle," does that make a difference to you?
No.
Because they're spelled out, the words are spelled out, and that's what matters to you? Okay.
You are still reading with your eyes, and your brain is doing that type of work.
All right, I think you're overall wrong, but Daniel Martinez nails it. In general, audio biographies are awesome, would be awesome, but yes, they are. My wife listens to so many audiobooks, and lately she's been on a spree of different musical artists. Like, she listened to, I believe it is Bruce Springsteen's autobiography that he does a lot of on there. And so she listened to that. I think there was one by Mick Jagger. That one might be one she listened to as well. But she loves them. She says they're awesome to sit and listen to. And does that matter the type of book? If it's an autobiography done by the person whose biography it is, listening to it, as opposed to reading it, is that better? Because now you're getting their inflection, their tone, how they want you to listen to the book, as opposed to you interpreting it when you read it?
I think it's a personal preference as to whether or not you think it's better, but I still say I would prefer that it's read. I don't know, maybe it's an old school or out of date thought process, but I don't know. That's me.
Yeah, it was Keith Richards. Thank you. It was the Keith Richards. It wasn't Mick Jagger. That was the one she read. So it was done by Johnny Depp then. Yeah. Anyway,
I would love for somebody to write a transcript of our show and then have other people read that.
That's what YouTube does for us, hopefully.
Wouldn't that be great?
No.
How many people you think would read it?
Zero. Absolutely zero.
Maybe they couldn't get all my eye rolls in there either.
That's true.
Anyway,
I did consume most of the Game of Thrones.
Just don't tell me you read it. That's all. If you said I listened to it, it's not like I think less of you.
No, I know.
Entirely. But just don't tell me. Yeah, I read that book. I just don't feel like you read that book.
Like I get it that it's a wrong verb.
Because I feel like reading is a skill. Maybe that's it. Reading is a skill. Of course, there's good and bad listeners. I understand that. Sure. But you are listening and hearing, assuming you're able-bodied, you're doing that naturally. By default, you could be just sitting there doing nothing. Reading is an action that you have to put effort into.
Yeah.
Your ears, again, just work.
Passive.
Thank you. Maybe that's the big difference. I feel like it, and of course there are good and bad listening modes and mechanisms and exercises, and I understand that. There's active and passive listening. I get all of that. So you don't have to yell at me. I mean, I have a communications degree. But I do, but that's not the point. The point is, I think you just hit it. Reading a book is, to me, is an active thing, an action.
It's an active versus passive form of.
So just don't tell me you read it.
That's fine. If that particular term bothers you, that's fine. If someone says, "Oh yeah, I listened to that book,"
I'd be like, "Cool."
Yeah.
I wouldn't even flinch at that.
No, I get it. You're just
just tell me you're effing lazy. All right, that's all I want to hear you say. I'm lazy, so I listen to this.
Multitasking, so I can do it multiple times.
No, because there's plenty of studies say that people think they can multitask well, and the studies show that most people don't.
Correct.
You don't multitask well.
But if I'm listening,
you do a lot of stuff really shitty and spread out. That's what
if I'm
most
listening to the
do,
book in the car, is that
included.
multitasking? Because I'm driving and listening.
You ain't driving well.
We're not talking on the golf course.
All right. We can move on. But yes, and I'm sure there's lots of great science. Honestly, if we were really on top of it, we'd have somebody smart in here giving us their.
That's not
the kind of show we are.
That's not our podcast.
We just make stuff up.
That's not our podcast.
And then argue our points of view. All right. On a separate note, Marcus says it's been nice to have so many different MPO winners this year. Not FPO, that's for sure. You're right, Marcus. It's Well, I mean, unless you're Paul or Ricky, it's been nice. Yeah, there's been some pretty significant mix-ups there, and we've seen lots of different people, kind of back to this mentality of anyone can win any given weekend. You have your favorites, but if now we're seeing...
Is GBO going to be the first repeat winner?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I wouldn't bet against that to say someone that's won a sizable tournament thus far this year is going to also win GBO. I think you'd be an idiot to bet against that. Because, who else are you going to throw into that mix?
As far as people who could
who could win that haven't won this year? Kevin Jones.
Paul Macbeth.
Well, I mean, I count his
Throw it on the mountain as a win.
Yeah,
okay,
as a sizable win.
I'll give that one. I'll give you that one.
Jeremy Collings won a big event.
Sexton, you could pick Sexton.
You could. Yep. Eagle has won a big event. Obviously, Simon's won a big event.
At this point, Double G.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say Eric Oakley, Marcus says Eric Oakley has played really well. Is it a breakout year? I mean, if he continues on this pace, it could be considered a breakout year. I heard he's throwing the breakout. You're welcome for the plug, DD. But he's got he has to finish well consistently, I think. I mean, you saw him, jump way up there this weekend, and great performance by him. I think you need to see that more consistently. And then that's going to be what's going to ultimately put him on that next level. Doss could win. Some people could question his health, whether or not he'll be fully recovered from his arm. And last time I talked to him, he said things were going well, but I think that's a little bit unknown right now. Nico, sure.
Nico Barsby.
When's the last time we saw Nico win a really big event? It's been
a while.
Been a while. Drew Gibson. Daniel says he'd like to see Drew Gibson get a big win. Same thing. When's the last time you saw Drew Gibson get a really, I can't even think of one. Like a big win. Like an A tier.
I think he's won A tiers.
I'm not saying he never has. I'm not saying that. I just can't think of the last one he won. Maybe somebody could tell me.
I don't think he's ever won anything bigger than an A tier.
No. He hasn't. He's never won an NT or a Pro Tour or a major. But I'd like to know what the last big A tier is that he won. Somebody should fill me in on the board. I'm genuinely curious. Arsby, sure.
Someone asked if maybe here's a hot take. Someone asked when Paige is going to get to 1,000. I don't know if she is. I honestly don't know if she will. That is such a hard thing to do that for her to be so consistent, she plays phenomenally, and she will spike at 1025s. The problem is she has just a few too many of those 980 and 990 rounds.
Well, and it's not like those are even the norm for her yet.
No, they're not. Those are high for her. I mean, clearly, as her rating is in mid 970s.
Yeah, 978, I think.
And that's tough. I mean, I wouldn't put $1 million that she's not going to get it by any means. Like, there's I won't say very good. There's a possibility she will get to 1,000, but I won't say that it's likely. I hope she does, because I think it would be a huge, huge step for the FPO field, even if it's just her. The problem with that is if she gets to 1,000, I think she basically wins every event from with a few things from here for the next 3 to 4 years. I think if the only way she gets to 1,000 is if she more or less, I won't say goes undefeated because she'll drop a few, but just dominates the field for the next 3 to 4 years. And no one touches her.
Yeah,
because there's not another woman in our sport right now that even can think about touching 1,000, that even has that as a goal. Realistically, Kat did for a while, but Kat's been inconsistent lately, and I think right now Kat's main goal is, hey, let's get consistent. Let's start finishing in the top 5 or top 3. as opposed to Paige, who I think right now is looking at it and going, I can play not my best golf and win. My goal is to hit 1,000. It's going to be really tough.
And I need to retract or correct myself in that, you said something about she has too many of those 990s, and I said those aren't commonplace. They're more commonplace than I realized.
They are. I mean,
what I'm looking at.
But I mean, but the problem is she doesn't put up enough 1,000 rated rounds, and that could change in.
Yeah, I mean,
as of right now, in 3 years, maybe she's putting up twice the number she is now. But even twice the number of 1,000 rated rounds, still not getting her to 1,000.
So real quickly, I'm going to recap and read off her last 10 to 12 rounds. That is officially on her record in terms of the PDGA, and that goes to Las Vegas. Again, these are on her record because the new ratings update doesn't have them yet. 950, 1019, 918, which still counts against her rating, 1,003, 955, 1,025, 896, which doesn't even count against her, which is great, 1023, 967. So, and those are, and then one that's really going to impact her for a while, that will be on there all the way till October, is the National Tour finale last year, 947, 962, 944. So those are a lot. I mean, they're sub 1,000. That's the obvious, but the fact that they're mid 900s. It just weighs so heavily because I don't know if you guys are into those maths, but she needs to be averaging over 1,000 if she wants to get to 1,000. So if you didn't know how those maths worked, I'm just going to tell you. So those are some, I think, the hurdles and obstacles. I mean, she's got plenty of 1,000 rated rounds sprinkled into her overall rating right now. They're all over the place. In terms of them being out there. I love seeing that she has more 1,000 rated rounds than most people would ever dream of having in their entire lifetime, and she's got that many in the last year.
Yeah, because at the height of my playing, I would pull in a couple a year, like 3 to 4 a year. And that was when we were playing like 30, 35 events a year. And that was like, oh, cool, I hit 1,001, and it's tough. It's so tough.
Yeah. So, one of the interesting comments that she made,
real quick, the last big event Drew Gibson won, 2015,
something in California, I'm gonna guess.
Shelley Sharp Memorial.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
$1,100.
I wasn't there, but I do remember hearing about it.
So just so you're aware.
So 2015
was the last real big event that he won.
Wow. Okay, so
He's taken second and like some top fives.
How many open players were in that one? That's an A tier.
Just one. Well, he won $1,100. I'm going to take a guess and say 6.
There were 21.
21. Okay. It beat Max Nichols.
And how many were 1,000 rated? 3. So I'm not.
It's an A tier.
I know. I'm just saying. That's far, and Drew plays in a lot of really good events. So I'm not like saying, oh, he doesn't have skills. Clearly he does. Nobody needs to call up Drew and get him on me. But he doesn't have big wins under his belt, and I'd love to see it.
No, I'm looking right now.
All right,
that's his biggest win ever.
With the Country Disc Golf says, with the change in the courses and the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing, do you think that will help FPO ratings be more accurate versus when the same holes are played as MPO?
I think so, and I think
because you're playing against
just your competition on just your course.
Exactly, and she is still ahead of them considerably, the most of her competition, and that will show itself in the ratings, just like it did this weekend. I mean, first round she had a 7-stroke advantage, and it was rated 1025 or something like that. Like, yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, when she goes off, goes ham, as they say, I think it reflects in the ratings just the same, because we have plenty of propagators and plenty of other really good women. I'd like to see Katrina Allen get dialed back in.
Me too.
It's really
fun when you have Paul Ricky, or, even if you're going right now, let's say Eagle Simon, or when you have a competition against two people, which we don't have right now. And not to say that's not exciting, as we were just saying, having all those people, but the FPO field, as much fun as it is to watch Paige crush courses, it's more exciting when you have someone that's going to compete with her.
Yeah, and let me be clear. I'm good with all the competition rising and everybody challenging everybody. I guess I was specifically saying Katrina because I know she's in a little bit of a slump right now, and I've watched her play and I've watched her struggle in this weekend's weather. She was not a fan of it. She was a little vocal about it, which I don't disagree. You've lived in Arizona for quite some time, and you like playing in.
She grew up in Minnesota, didn't she?
But she's also gotten quite accustomed, I think.
I know.
And when you're on tour, and let's just put it this way, maybe I'll rephrase. I don't think at any point this year she was thinking, hey, can't wait till that April weather rolls around and I'm playing in snow.
This brings up a very good point that I hope shuts some people up. There are people that are like,
not gonna happen.
I know. that are like, oh, well, you should just keep it in, the whole tour until like May or June in Texas and California, basically, or Florida.
Yeah, shut up.
Because the weather. And you're thinking like, great, guess what happened this weekend? We were in Arkansas. And
yeah, it was like 80 or 90 last year, same weekend.
And this week, it's supposed to hit like 70 or 80 in Arkansas. And we hit a huge cold front that enveloped the entire country. It was pouring in San Francisco. So to hear people say that, oh, you should play this event, guess what? Next year, it could be 80.
Thanks, Obama. Right? He did global warming?
No, I think it was Reagan with all the aerosol, the Aquanet.
For his hair.
The Aquanet. Aquanet wrecked the environment.
Yes.
I don't want to see big tour events in April in Wisconsin.
Correct.
But people kind of whine about the end of April and GBO. Like, it's, you get all this weather and it could rain, it could be cold. It could very well be 80 degrees as well, or 70 degrees. And it's just, it's a crapshoot. And I don't
roll the dice.
I don't like the argument that people are, that I hear people say, you should stick to California or Texas, because Texas had like quarter-size hail this past weekend in some spots of it. So, weather's weather. It sucks.
Jeremy, I know you've asked a few times. Early Worlds predictions, we're way early for that. I'm going to go out on a huge limb and say a previous world champion will win in Vermont. That's all I'm going to say.
So you're narrowing it down to 3.
3 or 4?
3.
Okay. That's what I'll say. Will we see a high-profile final round rain out this year? That's a great question.
I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, let's hope not. I mean, we went 20-some years with having literally like 1 or 2 high-profile events get canceled during the final round due to rain, and then we had like 3 in like an 18-month period. I think those were truly anomalies, and I don't think it's going to be commonplace at all.
I think we're going to regress back to the mean.
Exactly. Thanks, Obama. So I just think you can throw that out anywhere. That's what I've heard. Yeah,
it's fun.
It doesn't matter. Dad's Drunk had suggested making should the circle be smaller? No, it's an interesting thought. I like the shorter tees, which I think will get heavily debated come Thursday night if I join those guys. But I don't think the circle for statistics should get smaller. I understand the tees getting shorter, which is essentially creating a different course, but the statistics are the same. And for me, the circle is just that. It's for statistics purposes. So when you go to...
That's not true. The circle is also for jump putting.
Okay, that's true. I guess in that sense.
If you say that women, and we're going to go generalities here, aren't as strong as men and don't throw it as far, I know, digging holes. There is an argument to be made that says jump putts outside of, we'll say 25 feet, we'll just make up a number, should be allowed. as someone said, just like the 3-point line in basketball.
Okay.
You know, would that change the game? Possibly. And is it a good idea? Maybe. Logistically, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because suddenly
painting one set of circles is a major
undertaking
pain in the
train.
Paint in the
paint in the grass. It's a paint in the grass.
Yeah.
I would love to see an experiment, but it would take a year or two's worth of data to find that out. So I don't think you're ever going to see it. But it's not a dumb idea by any means, and we've seen a lot of dumb ideas.
Yeah, I don't like it. It may or may not be dumb. I don't like it. Because when I think about the circle, for the most part, I'm thinking about from a statistical point. I guess you have a point. There is a physicality to it.
Let's say it again.
But yeah, I would not be a fan of that. Same, and in my analogy, and yours makes sense as well. My analogy, it would be though, the strikeouts in baseball are calculated the same way they are for men or for women. Like if from a statistical, a walk and those types of things are calculated the same, even with a difference in powers or abilities.
Sure, but you could make the argument
playing with different equipment.
You could make the argument that the size of their field is different too. It's shorter, so to give them an opportunity at more home runs.
Sure.
And which is kind of what you're saying, what we're saying here for FPO, saying, I said the word saying too much. Shrinking down the circle might give these women a better chance to jump putt at 25 to 35
What
feet.
if we eliminated jump putting, which is also not a crazy idea?
At that point, then it makes no sense.
Okay.
If that were the case. Yeah.
Say it.
Nope.
Say it. I want some woman showing up and stabbing you in the eye. Say it. All right.
I honestly, I didn't have anything in mind. I was just.
Larry says, I don't mind the shorter tees, but I don't like it on iconic holes. Just selfish on my part, but the views are more important to me. The views are important to me. I see what you're saying, but your iconic could be totally different from my iconic and the next iconic. I mean, just iconic, obviously, in some ways is a pretty.
You could make an argument
comment
for signature holes, and I think we did at the beginning of the year, saying, like, we'll say hole 18 at Vista, kind of one of their signature holes over the water. I know Vista doesn't really have a lot of signature holes. It's a good course in general, but there's not one of those holes where you walk and you're like, wow. 18's as close as you get because it's usually towards the end of the day. You're throwing over the water. And we made a point. Like, yes, let's keep them throwing it over the water, but maybe shorten the basket, which is what they ended up doing. And that made sense to me. Would you want someone at De La
teeing from somewhere else on 27
other than top of the world, saying, okay, yeah, this is up here, but you guys, you're going to go down to the bottom of the hill and it's going to be a 250-foot shot around, a little hyzer. Is that offensive?
Well,
or does it make sense?
You have to ask the data, because I would say this. If you could, and I know this isn't the case, but if you looked at the data, and let's just say 100 women played De La for 3 straight days.
And 95
of the tournament.
Of them got threes?
Yeah. 98% of them got threes. That's not a good golf hole.
No, you're right.
I don't care. Well, I do care what they're scoring. I was going to say, I don't care what they're scoring, but if 95% of them are scoring a 3, which I know is not the case because it's so easy to get worse than that too. But if they were, yeah, I would say yes, move that tee.
I'm with you.
Because that means it's just not a good hole.
My brain says he's wrong and that you would change it. My gut, though, says sometimes you make an exception for a really cool looking hole.
And that's exactly what he's saying. I get it.
And I think those are out there and those are things that can and should be considered. But overall, I like, and I think we are on a right track. We've seen that it doesn't matter the course. Paige is still going to win.
Yeah.
The question is, Paige is the outlier. Let's look at the rest of the field. Is the rest of the field more competitive? I mean, everybody's been, not everybody, but so many people have been looking at this from Paige's point of view. Yes, a longer course definitely helps her. But if we look at the rest of the field and we say, oh, look, over the past 5 years, it's, the spread has been this, and now the spread is this because we're shortening some of the tees, this and that. If the numbers bear out, great. If they don't, and after a year or two of trying this, we scratch it. We scrap it. What I don't like, the argument I really dislike, is that it's like offensive to the women to be playing shorter tees, or that they're professionals and they should be playing the longer tees. That argument to me makes no sense, because we've seen so many other places where the women play a different course. They don't necessarily play the gold level course. They will play a different one. We're going to see it at GBO. The men are going to play the Country Club Gold, the longest that has ever been. The women don't touch that course. And it makes sense, because why would you put a woman on a 12,000-foot course? When most
That's
of
a good question. Which woman you asking?
When most of them will have a problem with those type of distances. Instead, they're going to Peter Pan, which is an awesome course, where they're going to Swope and one other one at the thing. So
Jones.
What was that?
Jones,
yes, Jones East. Thank you. It just makes sense to me. So the argument that it's offensive to put them on shorter tees, it's just a different course.
We won't beat this too far to death, but the dude on the board says, I like it when women play the same tee, so you can see how Paige Pierce would stack up against the men. Okay, that's great to see for Paige Pierce. But if another, let's say the other 95% of the field goes out and shoots 20 strokes worse in that round than the rest of the men, I guess it would bring to light, where Paige Pierce is in accordance with one. But is that really a test that's worth it? I mean, I don't know. Interestingly enough, I'm not even a stats or numbers guys, but one hole that jumped out at me as I was just looking through UDisc real briefly was for hole 4 on the women, zero women took a birdie on the third round.
And describe the hole a little bit.
It's a par 4. It's 630 feet. There's trouble on the right, not so much.
It's a par 4, and nobody took a birdie on it?
And 0 women played it under par. 15 women played it. 0 played it under par. 27% played it above par. It averaged 4.27. So a couple questions could be asked: is that par set correctly? Or I think I'm going to just guess that between the TD and Steve Dodge, they're going to take a really, really good look at that hole and just have a conversation and say, should this hole be adjusted in any capacity?
Well, we'll say this, 73% of the FPO parred it, and 27 were worse than par. So would shortening this hole by 60, 70 feet allow a handful of birdies?
Probably. And there's still plenty of danger. You could still go be all along the left side and actually behind the basket, if I recall. There's plenty of danger out there. But I think that is interesting to look at. Now, I believe on the men's side, I think they play the exact same hole, and I might be dead wrong, so I'll take a quick look. And on the men's side, it averaged as the second easiest hole for the men in terms of relative to birdie.
45% birdies.
45% birdies, 41% pars, and 14% above par.
And that is, I think
it is the same distance, 630 feet, and it played. So the other one was right in the middle. It was the 9th most difficult hole, otherwise known as the 9th easiest, I think. So it played right in the middle in terms of the women's. No, it played right in the middle. For the men, it came in as the second easiest hole relative to par. It averaged 3.71, and again, 45% of the field of 102 people. So what is that? 46 people? 45 or 46 people took threes on it.
All right.
So if you're telling me that you don't think that looking at those numbers, if we're really trying to play golf and if we're trying to promote the concept of golf, if you're telling me that I don't know, I think that's a perfect hole. Like, that is a perfect hole to do your comparisons on, when you look at those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'll fax that over to Steve.
You do that.
All right.
And enough of the FPO
it is.
talk.
It's enough. Hey, Jacob Curtis, Cupcake, how you doing out there, buddy? Good to hear from you. Out in where are you out in California? Yeah, only 10:20 out there. Johnny, you I see up on your screen this weekend.
Yeah, NAB's going on.
So National Association of Broadcasters is basically the biggest geek out convention of equipment and technology and cameras and everything in between.
For broadcasters.
Broadcasters, video equipment, now videocasters, vloggers, that type of stuff. It's anyone and everyone in the technology field, and then some. I mean, I even got spam messages saying, hey, we're at such and such booth. You should come check us out.
It's like, I'm not in Vegas.
But maybe next year I need to go.
The problem is it's like always around the same time. We always have events going, because
Exactly.
I would love to go as well.
But you saw something neat. You've seen a few things come out.
This year is really interesting because there's almost no announcements of like new cameras. Sony announced a few of them, but there's normally like this really cool hardware stuff. Last year, it was almost all 360 VR stuff. This year, it's all software based. It's basically people transmitting data in different ways and streaming. So many people talking about streaming.
See, I think the streaming thing's going to die soon. I think it's a fad.
One of the things I got really excited about is the equipment that we use to broadcast our events, from the box that goes on top of the camera that sends the signal to the server. It's getting cheaper and cheaper to do. And Teradek announced a new one called the Vick Go, which is like way cheaper than the one. They don't even make the one that we had anymore. I don't think they even sell that anymore, because we bought it. I think ours were like $5,000 a piece or something ridiculous. $4,000 or $5,000 after we have all the accessories or something ridiculous. This new one though is much cheaper. It's like $1,400 for the base unit, and then they've got these modems on the side that don't use USB modems anymore, and you plug your little SIM cards into. I can show this to you guys. So it's something. It's this right here. This is called the Vick Go. This is what you would plug your camera into, and those little antennas send the signal up to the internet in the space where I grab them and do all my funky stuff with it. I'm really excited because this offers what's a new codec called HEVC, which more or less says for half the bandwidth, you can have the same quality you have now, or increase your resolution. So instead of 720, we would say, hey, now we can do 1080 at the same at the same bandwidth costs that we were doing it before. And there's a bigger version of this that they announced as well. Well, they didn't announce it this time. It's been announced. And it's like $7,000. That's the one I had my eyes on for a long time. Like, oh, I'd love to have something like that. This one's like $2,000.
Let's buy like 10 of them.
I'm not going to buy 10 of them. They're still very expensive.
Oh.
We don't have $4,000 to go throwing around, or $6,000, depending if we want.
Yeah, but those bag tags,
multiple cameras. So the past 2 days I've done nothing but sit at work and listen to while I'm working. Listen to all these different people from NAB, and there's these shows and streaming, and it gets me all excited for all the future proofing stuff that I want to do. This isn't even released yet. It's not going to release till like mid-May. But I think this is something I'm excited about and looking forward to, and hopefully we can get our hands on one or two of them. Maybe next year. We'll see. Expensive. I'm a little nerdy.
EV Cheese says, has this device been tested and reliably proven in the field? Well,
this is the same company that makes what we currently have.
Yeah.
This particular device is not released yet, but I'm fairly confident that it will do. Now, here's what I'll say. What we have now can take up to 6 USB modems and combine the signal and ship it up. This one is limited to 2.
Most
of the time, we are comfortable with 2 or 3. So this would be something we would probably, but apparently the antennas are better on this, so we might get better signal in spots where we weren't getting as good a signal, but you don't know that until you test it on site. So I always think of the far reaches of Maple Hill, where we run into that. This might not help at all for that. Or you might go like, wow, this is a much better, we're getting a little bit better signal. We can go another 50 feet.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this is something that I'm hoping it's this or the $7,000 one. Those are your 2 options right now if we wanted to upgrade. And the only reason I talk about it is because, one of our big costs every month is bandwidth. How much we have to pay Verizon and these things when we're using, 50, 80 gigabytes in a weekend or whatever it is, 100 gigabytes in a weekend. This cuts that in half. Or it lets us still spend all that, but maybe give a better signal strength. So we're getting there. It's just every year I like to watch this stuff and look at it and drool and do fun things.
Someone had asked if we'll be broadcasting live from AmNats. No, we will not be. We will not. Yeah, short answer is no. We won't be broadcasting live. I think there's a post-production plan in place for that event, but we will not be there broadcasting live. And then they asked if we'd be, I think, broadcasting at the Rumble. Although those are some OG roots, as we were at the Rumble back in 2014. We will not be broadcasting live from the Rumble. That was very much a test case scenario when we were getting our feet wet in this whole live broadcasting scenario, and we really did that pro bono. And God, those were the days. That's when I was running a camera, doing commentary, carrying the backpack, doing everything, literally everything.
So much fun.
And we didn't really have commercials, and it was another world, another day.
Let's go back to that.
It was
but with the commercials,
so much better. So no, now the Rumble in a post-production format, that could be a conversation to be had. That's a crazy weekend. Ricky talked a little bit about that weekend in that it's Bowling Green, which I would love to be at, except for it butts up right against GBO. And so to be in Bowling Green, and then it's an 8-hour drive from Bowling Green over to GBO, but then that's being gone another 2 or 3 or 4 days even earlier, just makes for some really tight timelines. So, but no, we will not be live at whatever, the Rumble, as you had asked. And then I guess I followed it up and said, as far as we know of, we think there's going to be one live PDGA backed event this year in the sense that the PDGA is looking to have it, and we believe that's going to be Worlds. We haven't seen an RFP or a contract or anything of that nature yet, but that's the one event that we know from the PDGA's perspective that they're looking to back in terms of a live production. Obviously, they've been doing a lot of support for post-production. It seems as if they've really dialed in with Jomez for Jomez to be at a lot of big-time tournaments, but that's been about it from what I've seen officially. Can this fix the glitch problem we've seen in the past? What glitch? There's lots of glitches, aren't there?
Yeah, we have lots of glitches. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, ultimately, there are glitches from cell signal where things will lock up. There could be, on occasion, there's glitches right from YouTube. But this is, it's you're still pushing things over cellular, which is the only way for us to do it because we can't afford to wire up an entire course. And there's really not another good option that we hook cameras up to. Yeah. Does it fix a glitch? Maybe. Does it give a little bit better signal? Maybe. Does the smaller, if we kept the same quality and then cut the bandwidth in half, is that better because now we're transmitting less? Maybe. Without testing it and doing it, there's not a good way to know. But this is something I'd love to see. Larry asks, he thinks a good way to grow the sport would be to show the women live in the morning and then the men in the afternoon.
Well, he says grow views.
Grow views, of course. I think that could help after a while, but there's a manpower reality to that is very difficult.
And a financial reality.
And financial reality, of course.
And those go hand in hand.
Yep. That getting, now you're asking someone to run around 2 rounds and commentate for 2 rounds and all the and all the data that we have to use.
Literally, yeah, doubling the data
doubling the
consumption.
amount of data. Wow, God, I can't even imagine that. That would suck. So yes, so is it possible physically? Yes. Is it realistic? Ugh. Talk to Steve Dodge.
Larry then says, when they break for women's quick update, I get up to grab a bite or watch TV for a minute. I usually miss it. I feel like you're conflicting your own self then. You're saying that you think it would be great to grow it by having their own, but when it's on right now, you don't bother watching it. That's when you. I'm not sure. I'm just fully fine following your train of thought there. Travis Walker says, who had missed most of the show, thanks for joining us in the late night. Here's Travis. So Disc Golf Pro Tour, always live with you guys. Thank goodness. GBO and potentially Worlds. Any others scheduled right now? So real quickly, I'll break that down. Pro Tour, we are the official live provider of the Pro Tour for every Pro Tour spot, Pro Tour event where there's coverage. And the only one, well, we're assuming San Francisco to be good. The only one I'm remotely nervous about would be at the toboggan course. And we think it's fine. That's just the only truly unproven spot for the rest of the year. So yes, we'll be live at all 10 of the Pro Tour stops this year. So locked and committed. Somebody sent me a message the other day and like, hey, are you going to be at the such and such event? Yes, every Pro Tour. I feel like getting that tattooed on my head. Steve would probably pay for that. Every Pro Tour event, we're live. GBO in terms of dynamic outfits the bill, so to speak, and has a commitment to live and has a commitment to just the media in general. So that's why you see GBO, although it's a national tour event, not a Pro Tour event, GBO and dynamic, 100% dynamic is the root of that and the cause of that.
And it's one of the very few national tour events that actually has cell signal.
Correct. And yes, it's one of the few that has even a good potential for it. And potentially Worlds. Any others scheduled right now? Just thinking back to last year, the one other big one that was on our radar that hopefully is on our radar again, we'll confirm with them, would be the Next Generation Tour finale, which turned out to be one of the most exciting coverages of the year.
Yeah.
So the Next Gen Tour finale, that's the only other one off the top of my head that I can think about. And anyone else that wants to write a check, talk to us. But those are the ones that come to mind. I don't think we have any other live in the hopper or planned as of right now. Larry says, well, it's usually during commercial time, and I don't watch commercial. No, it's not during commercial time.
The women's
have a dedicated time after every set of tees. When the men tee off on hole 2, 95% of the time we go right to women's coverage. And then when the men tee off on hole 3, we go right to women's coverage. And when they tee off on 4, we go right to women's coverage. Yeah, that's our official format.
The commercials are almost exactly 1 minute from the second they tap out to the time that they're on the tee. Unless Ricky's on the tee, which at that point you only have 45 seconds. Because
he gets up and throws.
Or Double G. Double G is so much fun because he gets up and just throws. If I watch James Conrad get on the tee, I know I could play another commercial. That guy, he gets up, walks to the front, takes a swing, takes a couple steps back, does a fake run up, and then gets back and then goes. And that's just his routine, and I'm good with it. And I know that I don't need to cut out of a commercial if I see Conrad on the tee right away. I know I got a little bit of time, as opposed to the other two where it's like, ooh, we're gonna have to we cut him out right there. So
Larry follows up and says it will take a new company coming on board, ran by women, for women to get it done. It doesn't have to be women, but it would be a great start. There's probably going to be no one more impassioned than a group of women, and I would fully support them in every possible way to do anything. I'd support a men's group to do it, and if I could clone myself, I would go out and make even bigger effort to cover more women. The problem is, despite my size, there's only so much of me to go around. So it is what it is. The live production at Jonesboro Open was awesome. Thank you, EV Cheese. We appreciate that. So
I think we can wrap this up for tonight.
I think we can too. It's been awesome. If you enjoy women's coverage, get every woman you know to individually all click on the FPO edited footage that is going to be releasing or has released. Round 1 is currently up on the Disc Golf Guys channel as well as the Pro Tour channel. Round 2 is scheduled for tomorrow. The ladies of the Chains just got back to me and said we're done recording the commentary over round 2. So thank you very much to the ladies of the Chains. They have provided audio commentary for round 2. They likely will be doing it for round 3 as well. And it's a huge task for them, and it's a huge task for anyone to take on. So I'm trying to pull in all resources to make stuff happen. So go out and watch that for 3 days and enjoy and consume that as well in all of its glory. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's podcast number 190's after show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for all of the support, all of the criticisms, all the good, the bad, the ugly, the Patreon support, everything in between for SmashBoxx and for the Pro Tour and the coverage that's going on. We're doing it for you guys because we're not doing it for the glory and we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it for you guys, and we appreciate it. We'll catch you next week when you step inside the SmashBoxx.